Chapter 1625. Li Fan couldn't care less about how the women were going to deal with them. He sat in the contestant's seat because the quarterfinals had begun. The auditorium was still crowded, and there was no place for people to stand. Li Fan thought that if he gave them a few ropes, these people would probably dare to sell tickets. Li Fan looked at the big screen, and the positions of the 8 people's avatars were constantly changing. The order of the quarterfinals had to be rearranged and then drawn. He didn't know which strong opponent he would meet this time. Hello everyone, thank you for continuing to sit here and watch the competition in the afternoon. I'm your host, Little Black. The host sat on the high platform and spoke into his microphone, continuing his afternoon hosting. The person sitting next to me is the commander of China's Imperial Army, Jiang Feng. Welcome, Commander Jiang. He is willing to commentate the competition in the afternoon with me. Once again, thank you, Commander Jiang. With you here, I feel more confident. You're welcome. Jiang Feng had a gentle smile on his face. At this time, he even wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, looking very cultured. This is what I should do. Let's witness this afternoon's competition together and see who will be able to get into the semifinals. Commander Jiang also has a card up his sleeve, right? There are many strong people, I dare not say anything for sure. Jiang Feng said modestly, no matter what, we can still enjoy the wonderful competition. That's true, I am also honored to be today's host and witness. Alright, let's cut the chatter and get back to the competition. After the wonderful and cruel quarterfinals in the morning, we have selected 8 stronger experts. Everyone, please pay attention to the big screen and let us see which 2 experts will be fighting in the first round. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 avatars were selected on the big screen. On the left was Murong Ying, and on the right was Liang Ru. Fuck, did this task force do this on purpose? Finally, it's my turn. Liang Ru walked to the arena and waved her hand. The sword behind her flew out and danced in front of her. Murong Ying, today I will defeat your undefeated legend. I am not undefeated. Murong Ying said very directly, but even so, you are not my opponent. You have potential. Train for a few more years. You're too arrogant. I can't accept this. This is not arrogance, this is the truth. Murong Ying sighed. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you. As she spoke, she placed one hand behind her back and the other in front of her, extending only 2 fingers. Take this. Following the signal to start the match, Liang Ru pointed at Murong Ying without hesitation. The Shangfang sword immediately shot towards Murong Ying, tearing the air apart and emitting a sharp whistling sound. Dang! However, Murong Ying only stretched out 2 fingers and flicked the side of the sword when it was in front of her. The Shangfang sword immediately changed direction and flew to the side. It's a good sword, but it has lost its power. Murong Ying felt a little regretful. Don't underestimate me. Liang Ru knew that Murong Ying's strength was not just for show. She did not hesitate and immediately entered the returning sword state. A golden radiance emitted from her body, draping her with a layer of golden battle armor. At this moment, even Liang Ru's hair turned golden, and her pair of golden pupils released a raging battle intent. Oh oh oh. It's like this again. The host exclaimed, Commander Jiang, how exactly did Liang Ru do it? The sword in her hand is a divine weapon of our China, called Shangfang sword. Jiang Feng did not hide anything, this sword is a treasure that has been passed down for thousands of years. It represents the identity of our China's guardian. Liang Ru is this generation's guardian. She can inherit the power that the predecessors poured into the sword, but she can only borrow it temporarily. China's guardian. It sounds so impressive. The host could not help but sigh, China's heroic martial sect is indeed full of talents. Not to mention that they have 3 in the top 8, one of them is actually a China's guardian. Then, wouldn't contestant Murong be in danger? Murong Ying, as the previous martial arts alliance master, has experienced hundreds of battles. When Jiang Feng talked about Murong, his tone could not help but have a little more respect. She is very amazing. Even I do not have the confidence to defeat her. As expected of the previous martial arts alliance master. What is the outcome of the battle between the two beauties? Let us continue to pay attention. At this moment, Liang Ru entered the returning sword state. She was completely reborn, as if she had become a different person. She activated the Shangfang sword and let the sword spin in the air. Then, with a swoosh, it disappeared in front of Murong. What kind of move is this? It's the illusory sword. Jiang Feng explained, in the previous competition, Liang Ru also used this move. It seems that even the Kongtong sect leader Long was hit by it. It can be said that the more experienced one is in battle, the more effective this move is. Moreover, Liang Ru's control of the illusory sword has also improved. In the morning, her illusory sword could only affect Long Bailey alone. But now, it has affected all the audience who are watching the competition. Can it really be done? Yes, it's similar to a kind of spiritual hypnosis. Jiang Feng gave an affirmative answer. He was also surprised that Liang Ru was quite talented. She had actually used it so skillfully in such a short period of time. Moreover, this Shangfang sword was indeed a divine weapon. If he could obtain it, his strength would increase by a lot, right? Not bad, but it's a pity that it's not enough. As Murong spoke, she let the Shangfang sword that suddenly flew over from the side directly pierce her body. But she still stood there, safe and sound. Then, she suddenly stretched out 2 fingers and flicked them next to her ear. Clang! Another Shangfang sword was sent flying, and then it disappeared into the void. Clang, clang, clang. Murong separated the illusory sword several times and flicked the real sword away with ease. How could this be? Liang Ru was a little shocked. Her illusory sword was actually ineffective. Even the Kongtong sect leader couldn't handle it. Oh, this illusory sword seems to be ineffective against contestant Murong. The host exclaimed. It's Alliance Master Murong. Jiang Feng reminded, the new Alliance Master hasn't been elected yet. Murong is still the Alliance Master of Wulin. Moreover, she has already seen the illusory sword once, so she can see through its mystery. There's nothing to be surprised about. Murong also told Liang Ru, you hid your sword very well, but I formed a defensive net with my internal force. I can detect your sword when it's half a meter away from you. Many cherry blossoms appeared around Murong. My eyes can lie to me, and my brain might also lie to me, but internal force won't. Liang Ru wanted to say that it was really scary. She was indeed Murong. If she wanted to defeat her, she would probably have to use her last resort. Chapter 1626. Shangfang Sword. Ancient Sword's Soul Return. Liang Ru pushed the power of the Shangfang sword to the extreme. This Shangfang sword floated in front of her and gently swayed. The surrounding power seemed to be attracted and all gathered towards Liang Ru. The sky was originally clear, but at this moment, the sky was filled with dark clouds. In the clouds, there was thunder rumbling, as if it contained some kind of powerful and terrifying energy. Even ordinary people could feel that this move was different. The host wiped his cold sweat and asked Jiang Feng, who was beside him. This. Commander Jiang, what kind of move is this? It feels so terrifying. I'm afraid Liang Ru has used her ultimate technique. Jiang Feng also felt a lingering fear. Even he felt a little flustered when facing such power. As expected of the successor of the Shangfang sword. Once she uses her full strength, it is still very terrifying. Is Alliance Chief Murong in danger? The host was a little worried. If this continued, would someone die? What are you worried about? Jiang Feng smiled and said, she is the Alliance Chief of the martial world. Perhaps, she is also the strongest woman in the world. As he spoke, a bolt of lightning suddenly descended from the sky. With a kacha sound, it struck Liang Ru's body. However, Liang Ru was safe and sound. The golden light on her body became even more dazzling. At this moment, Liang Ru's body seemed to be wearing a golden armor. Her body floated in the air and she stepped on the Shang Fang sword. Is she a sword immortal? The host was finally shocked. It's just a way of using her inner strength. Jiang Feng could see that Liang Ru's inner strength was wrapped around her sword, allowing her to float in the air. She has become a little stronger. Muronging nodded. She does have the bearing of a grandmaster. After the second eruption, Liang Ru forcefully raised her strength to the level of a grandmaster. However, Liang Ru did not care because she knew that practicing martial arts was not opportunistic. Even if Liang Ru raised the strength of a grandmaster, she was still not her match. She relied on the experience of those ancestors, but not her own experience. With a wave of Liang Ru's hand, 9 swords appeared and revolved around her. Each of the swords was formed from a huge amount of energy. Liang Ru pointed at Muronging and one of the swords immediately flew over and shot towards Muronging. Muronging frowned slightly. She raised her hand, and a wall made of cherry blossoms rose 2 meters high from the ground. It stood in front of Muronging, blocking the sword. Boom! When the treasured sword landed on it, it exploded violently like a missile. Murong-Ying's cherry blossom wall was blown to pieces. She slid backward for more than a meter before she slowly steadied herself. Interesting. Even Murong-Ying couldn't help but praise him. Continue. Liang Ru could not maintain this state for long. She immediately activated her sword and continued to chase after Murong-Ying. Boom boom boom. The treasured swords exploded around Murong-Ying one after another. However, Murong-Ying was Murong-Ying. She used her unique advantage to make the cherry blossoms protect her, constantly blocking the bombardment of the treasured swords. No matter how powerful Liang Ru's treasured swords were, she only had 9. After Liang Ru finished bombarding the area, she still had 3 treasured swords left. They floated around her as she waited for the next round of attacks. You are like a child holding a pistol. Murong-Ying sighed. You have the power, but you don't know how to use it. I'll go back and practice. With that said, Murong-Ying suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Liang Ru. After all, she was an expert with strength at least at the half-sage realm. Once Murong-Ying got serious, Liang Ru was no match for her. Upon seeing Murong-Ying suddenly appear, Liang Ru subconsciously activated the 3 treasured swords and shot them at Murong-Ying. With Murong-Ying's movement techniques, it was easy for her to dodge the 3 treasured swords. However, Murong-Ying preferred to fight head-on, using her absolute strength to do the talking. Murong-Ying condensed the dragon and phoenix swords and held them in her hands. Instantly, she stabbed out 3 times. Boom! 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 Liang Ru's 3 treasured swords exploded in midair, but the explosive waves were swept away by Murong-Ying's sword beams. What? Realizing that her moves were ineffective, Liang Ru felt a little helpless. As for Murong-Ying, she stabbed Liang Ru's acupoints twice consecutively. Liang Ru felt the strength in her body immediately loosen, as though there was a funnel in her body. She could not stop it even if she wanted to. She watched helplessly as her strength plummeted. The difference was too great. Liang Ru finally understood this point, but she was still indignant. She was extremely indignant. Sooner or later, I will defeat you. Let's talk about it when that day really comes. Murong-Ying kept the surrounding cherry blossoms and then pushed her hand. Liang Ru's body flew out uncontrollably and landed outside the stage. Thank you both for sending us a wonderful round of matches. The host and the audience were having a great time watching the match. The battle between the 2 beauties was full of beauty and power. The final winner is indeed Alliance Master Murong. Jiang Feng chuckled. If there is a chance, I really look forward to a battle with her. The first round of the quarterfinals has ended with Alliance Master Murong's victory. The host loudly announced, let us congratulate Alliance Master Murong. Please also give a round of applause to the young contestant Liang Ru. Her performance today was also very outstanding. Thunderous applause sounded from the stands. Everyone was convinced. The match between the two was very interesting. Even if it was a girl, there was no feeling of inferiority. Some of the female audience were even more excited. Who said that girls were inferior to guys? Wasn't there a heroine, Muronging? The next match's name list is out. Let us take a look. The host looked at the big screen and exclaimed, "Aya, the second match is actually between Commander Jiang and the sect leader of the heroic martial sect, Niu Shuyan. I'll take my leave for a while." Jiang Feng bowed to the audience and then jumped down from the 10-meter tall stage. Using his qing gong, he slowly landed on the stage, causing the screams of the female fans and the applause of the male audience. Li Fan could not help but praise. This Jiang Feng really knew how to act cool. Jiang Feng will definitely lose this match. Li Fan received the Saintess's secret sound transmission. Oh. Why do you think so? Li Fan also used the secret sound transmission and sent it to the Saintess's contestant seat. This kind of communication method was much more convenient than QQ or WeChat within a certain distance. Is that sect leader Niu really that strong? I don't know if sect leader Niu is strong or not. But Jiang Feng is a member of the government. The government does not want him to win against Niu Shuyan. Chapter 1627. What the heck, fake fight? Li Fan finally reacted, but this was too much of a scam. Really? This is a competition supervised by the Sky Martial Court. If someone fake fight, wouldn't the Sky Martial Court take action? If he wants to admit defeat, the Sky Martial Court can't do anything about it. If they really had the right to speak, they wouldn't have agreed to cooperate with the government. Also, this isn't the first match. Didn't you see the way Wang Zhen lost before? That's too much of a scam. Li Fan was somewhat indignant. Jiang Feng was considered an expert, but he actually had to fake fight under pressure. It's not easy to survive in the system. It's Jiang Feng's choice whether it's good or bad. Let's just watch the competition. The Saintess had seen through all of this. She sat on her sofa and watched the battle outside. Niu Shuyan walked out wearing the heroic martial sect's uniform. When he appeared, many people cheered for him. In the previous battles, his clean and efficient fighting style made everyone a little fond of him. But if they knew that Niu Shuyan was using Japan's Takeda family's righteous fist, who knows what they would think. Your Excellency's martial arts are very exquisite. I, Jiang Feng, am here to seek advice. Jiang Feng cupped his hands and said to Niu Shuyan. Please. Niu Shuyan tightened his belt and beckoned Jiang Feng over. Your Excellency, please. Jiang Feng modestly said. As expected of the commander of the royal army. Modest and gentlemanly. The host couldn't help but praise, but our contestant Niu doesn't seem to be too polite. After all, this is a martial arts competition. Everything depends on martial arts. Niu Shuyan took a big step forward and threw a punch straight at Jiang Feng's chest. Jiang Feng's body moved to the side and avoided Niu Shuyan's fist. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and pushed Niu Shuyan's shoulder, causing Niu Shuyan to stagger forward and almost fall. But Niu Shuyan was also a grandmaster. He stomped on the ground with his left foot and kicked with his right foot, causing Jiang Feng, who was about to come over, to take 2 steps back. Sect Master Niu has great skills. Jiang Feng was still holding a fan in his hand. He opened the fan with a snap and gently fanned himself. I, Jiang Feng, have met many martial artists in my life, but you have left a deep impression on me. I have a feeling that I might lose to you. My divine technique is complete. I'm invincible. After sect leader Niu steadied himself, he looked at Jiang Feng and sneered, even manner lordly from whatever manner wouldn't last more than a few moves against me. I have the most powerful combat experience and this most direct combat martial art. Even if you are the commander of the Imperial Army, can your status be compared to me, the sect leader of the heroic martial sect? Your Excellency is right. Jiang Feng slightly bowed towards sect leader Niu. The heroic martial sect is a rising new sect, its future is limitless. Ha, as long as you know. Niu Shuyan pointed at Jiang Feng, within 3 moves, I will beat you until you can't get up. Please enlighten me. Jiang Feng extended his hand and invited. Niu Shuyan immediately stepped forward and ran forward, followed by a flying kick. With the speed of a missile, he kicked towards Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng raised his fan horizontally and blocked in front of him, blocking Niu Shuyan's kick. But Niu Shuyan's strength seemed to be very strong. The kick caused Jiang Feng to retreat 2 steps. Niu Shuyan took advantage of the situation and followed up, punching towards Jiang Feng's chest. Jiang Feng once again used his fan to block, but this time the fan was pierced through. Niu Shuyan's fist also landed on Jiang Feng's chest. Bam! Jiang Feng slid a meter away, but Niu Shuyan followed up again. He raised his leg and chopped down, smashing Jiang Feng's head. With a muffled sound, Jiang Feng was beaten to the ground. How is it? Do you know how powerful I am? Niu Shuyan crossed his arms and looked at Jiang Feng proudly. Your Excellency's strength is abnormally strong. I, Jiang Feng, admit that I am inferior. Jiang Feng stood up again and wiped off the bloodstain at the corner of his mouth. We are all martial artists, so we should stop when necessary. I am not as good as you, so I admit defeat. With that, he cupped his hands at Niu Shuyan, then turned around and used his qinggong to stick to the wall of the high platform. With a few swishes, he landed next to the host. The host was still a little confused. This. Does Commander Jiang admit defeat? Yes. Jiang Feng smiled warmly. His voice was soft, but it spread throughout the scene. Leader Niu is a martial arts genius that appears once in 100 years. His skill is so high that I have rarely seen it in my life. Commander Jiang is really generous. The host was impressed. I came here today just to join in the fun. Jiang Feng said, I don't practice martial arts for the sake of being competitive. As long as I can protect the safety of every citizen, that's the happiest thing for me. With an expert like Commander-in-Chief Jiang here, we also feel much safer. The host immediately flattered, let's congratulate Niu for winning the top 8. It seems that he is the seeded contestant for today's championship battle. Niu Shuyan stood there, stretched out a finger and said loudly, today, there is an idiot called Martial Emperor who said that he will become the champion. Niu Shuyan, will tell him that he is just dreaming. Because the champion throne will only belong to my heroic martial sect, Niu Shuyan. Niu Shuyan's provocation was liked by many youngsters. They felt that this was the domineering and awe-inspiring style that a true martial artist should have. Did you see that? The Saintess's voice once again rang in Li Fan's ears. Li Fan became silent. Even if he did not want to admit it, he had to agree with the Saintess's point of view. Jiang Feng did not even use his true strength. Niu Shuyan only casually won the match. The martial arts tournament had actually become dirty. The contestants for the next match have also come out. The host looked at the big screen and announced loudly, in the previous match, Leader Niu challenged Martial Emperor, Liao Ju, and his opponent, only me sect Saintess. What did you say? Saintess forfeited? The spectators sighed. What's the point of winning without a fight? But the Saintess is not stupid. She got the news from Li Fan that Martial Emperor actually trained in the true immortal art. How can she defeat him? Rather than being heavily injured by Martial Emperor, she might as well conserve her strength and leave it for later. Alright, although everyone is regretful, this is the contestants' own choice. The organizing committee respects them and I ask the spectators to respect them. For those spectators who have not had their fill, it doesn't matter. Our next match will be even more exciting. China's heroic martial sects Li Yun vs America's hero number 9. The entire audience was thunderous. Even the bank boss who was sitting in front of the television could not sit still anymore. Ha ha ha, my number 9 has come out. This time, he will definitely win back all my money. Chapter 1628. When number 9 goes out, he is equivalent to 2. This is the concept of the bank boss. And the actuary's calculation is number 9 against Li Yun, giving him a handicap of 5. Handicap of 5? What a joke, that is number 9. The powerful number 9. The bank boss is practically shouting, did you see how he defeated the Shaolin monk? Isn't Shaolin the number 1 sect in China? Handicap of 5? I think handicap of 3 is enough. That's safer. The actuary hurriedly explains, after all, Li Yun's performance in the previous competition was not bad. He defeated Bai Sen, he has this kind of strength. Alright, let's do as you say. Thinking that this Chinese martial artist defeated the powerful boxing champion Bai Sen, the boss's attitude softens a little. No matter what, we have to get people to bet on Li Yun. The higher the audience's expectations of him, when number 9 wins, the more money I will win. Boss, 62% of the money is invested on Li Yun. The underling reports. Very good. It seems that everyone has high expectations of Li Yun. The bank boss is very satisfied. This time, not only can I earn back my capital, I can also earn back double the profit. No one can win against the powerful number 9. No one. You're right. The actuary kept on sucking up to him. And on the television, that contestant Li Yun has already arrived on the stage. Standing in front of him is number 9 dressed in black and gold battle attire. You give me a very familiar feeling. Number 9 looks at Li Fan with a suspicious look. You look like someone I have seen before. How could that be? I am just an ordinary Chinese martial artist. Li Fan conceals his identity. However, you seem to have some misunderstanding about our Chinese martial arts. Today I can take this opportunity to let you know our Chinese martial arts. Saying that, he stretches out his hands and makes a pose. Although I am in the heroic martial sect, I was fortunate enough to go to the 7 heroes sect to practice a set of 7 heroes fist. Please teach me. Chinese martial arts, showy but impractical. Number 9 does not hesitate to ridicule. I have once met a so-called powerful Chinese martial artist, claiming to be the strongest in China. In the end, he was defeated by my fist. If there is anyone in Huaxia who can make me look at him in a different light, it would at most be that martial emperor. He is very powerful. Since that's the case, allow me to seek your guidance. As Li Fan spoke, he cupped his hands towards number 9, heroic martial sect's Li Yun. Please advise me. The competition hasn't even started, but the 2 contestants are already at daggers drawn. The host continued to hype up the atmosphere. Commander Jiang, who do you think will win this match? These 2 are both very strong. Jiang Feng held back his laughter and said, I think everyone has seen the fighting strength of the heroic martial sect. Hero no. 9 from the United States was not to be underestimated either. To be honest, I don't care who wins. I'm more concerned about how exciting this competition will be. Since Commander Jiang has said so, let's wait and see. Needless to say, contestant 9 was extremely popular in the match between contestant 9 and Li Yun. Li Yun also defeated the powerful boxing king, Bai Sen, in the previous competition. The battle between the 2 of them should be very satisfying. Come, I'll let you make the first move. Contestant 9 crossed his arms and stood there, as if he didn't care about Li Fan. Alright, I won't be polite. As Li Fan spoke, he leaped and suddenly appeared in front of contestant 9. Contestant 9 didn't care at all. The Chinese martial artists were fast, but what use was that? Black Tiger fiercely climbing the mountain. Li Fan consecutively attacked contestant 9's chest, chin, and finally his head. Bang! Li Fan pressed contestant 9's head onto the ground, causing contestant 9's body to be pressed down, and his entire body was pressed into the ground. Seeing contestant 9's head being smashed into the ground, the host exclaimed. Contestant 9 was actually smashed into the ground. Is he going to lose? I don't think it's that easy. Jiang Feng was more like an excellent commentator, with Contestant 9's physical strength, this kind of attack is just a greeting to him. Just as Jiang Feng finished speaking, Contestant 9 had already stood up from the ground. At the same time, he patted the dust off his body as if nothing had happened. Just like that? Contestant 9 asked coldly. What's the rush? Li Fan wasn't surprised. Just now I only used 10% of my strength. Why don't you try taking 50% of my strength? So what if I let you hit me 3 times? Contestant 9 was very arrogant. Come. Alright. Li Fan stepped forward again. This time, he directly slammed his palm onto Contestant 9's chest. Dragon Spitting Pearl. As Li Fan's voice fell, a powerful force exploded from Contestant 9's back. Contestant 9 bent his waist and slid back half a meter. However, he still managed to stabilize his body. There's still one more move. Li Fan placed both of his hands in his pocket and looked at Contestant 9 with a smile. Next time. Use 80% of my strength. How about it? So what if it's 100%? Contestant 9 snorted coldly. The attacks of you Chinese martial artists are only so-so. Alright, then I'll do as you say. Use 100%. Li Fan followed his advice. Then you have to endure it. Don't get beaten to death or else it won't be fun. Li Fan took a step forward, raised a powerful internal force in his palm, and directly slammed it towards number 9. Ape King Cannon. Contestant 9's brows suddenly furrowed. As for Li Fan's palm, it had already landed solidly on his body. Dong! Contestant 9's body turned into a cannonball and flew out, smashing heavily into the distance. Finally, with a bang, Contestant 9's body was embedded into the wall of the stage. Luckily he didn't land on the ground and wasn't out of the stage. Contestant 9's mouth turned red. He was actually injured. His eyes were closed as if he had fainted. Contestant 9 is injured. How is that possible? Something must have gone wrong. The bank boss couldn't sit still anymore. He shouted, "Get someone to check on that Li Yun. Did he consume some prohibited substance?" Oh right, Chinese people like to use prohibited items the most. Li Yun is definitely not an exception. Li Fan looked at Contestant 9 who was embedded in the wall and was about to continue his attack. At this moment, the MC spoke loudly. Sorry. I have received a notice from the International Martial Arts Committee. They suspect that Contestant Li Yun used prohibited items and want to conduct a urine test. Nonsense. A gray-robed Sky Martial Pavilion elder who was standing at the side finally couldn't take it anymore. He scolded, "What bullshit International Martial Arts Committee? They are nothing. Since when did they have the right to interfere in our Chinese martial arts competition? Furthermore, martial artists have their own honor. They wouldn't use any prohibited items. Yes, make them scram. What International Martial Arts Committee? Never heard of it." Chapter 1629. Everyone, I am the representative sent by the International Martial Arts Committee. A man in a black suit walked out and raised his staff card. As a member of the committee, we have a legitimate reason to investigate Contestant Li Yun's urine sample. If he used prohibited items, then we will have to disqualify him. The competition is organized by our Sky Martial Pavilion. It has nothing to do with you. The Sky Martial Pavilion elder was not afraid of the people from the committee. Don't point fingers at us. Scram. Looks like your Chinese side is not willing to cooperate. The man in the suit pushed his spectacles. I have reason to suspect that you are rigging the competition. It is extremely unfair to our foreign martial artists. I think you are tired of living. The Sky Martial Pavilion elder did not seem to have a good temper. Perhaps he had reached his limit. The alliance leader election turned out to be like this. Now even cats and dogs came to interfere. This was intolerable. It's okay, elder. Li Fan turned around and looked at the man in the suit. How do you want to check my urine sample? Do you want me to let you have a taste of my urine now? Rude. The man in the suit was a little angry. Since you are a martial artist, you have the obligation to cooperate with our International Martial Arts Committee's investigation. I am a Chinese martial artist. I am not a martial artist affiliated with your committee. Li Fan emphasized, a committee that does not have any Chinese people in it. Do you have the cheek to control me? Say that I used prohibited items? Do I need to? As Li Fan spoke, he raised his elemental energy. His body emitted a silver stream of energy, flowing out from his pores. What are you trying to do? Just teaching you the rules. Li Fan was known as the Little Tyrant. How could he admit defeat at this moment? China's martial artists have their own set of rules. Since you do not respect the sacred competition of China, don't blame me for being impolite. As he spoke, he opened his mouth and took a deep breath. At this moment, Li Fan's Tai Chi diagram began to revolve rapidly. It was as if there was a huge exhaust fan on the ground. The surrounding air was all swallowed by Li Fan. Scram! Li Fan took a deep breath and shouted. A huge wave of air directly blew the person from the organizing committee away. In the blink of an eye, he flew more than 10 meters away and fell heavily on the auditorium. Who dares to disrespect our Huaxia's martial arts competition? This is the result. Li Fan said loudly, I don't care which gang you belong to. Since you are in Huaxia, you must abide by Huaxia's rules. That's right. Number 9, who was leaning against the wall, finally opened his eyes. You're very strong. I underestimated you before. Number 9 said, you have the strength to fight me. As he spoke, he slowly pulled out his hands and feet from the wall. Although he was awake, the bank boss's entire body was numb. 5 minutes. These 5 minutes have already passed. The only chance now was for number 9 to win. Once he won, the boss would be able to collect some money from the other bet, more or less filling the hole. Number 9 seemed to be enraged. As long as he was serious, that Li Yun would definitely not be a match for him. After a small farce, the competition has finally begun again. The host wiped his cold sweat. He didn't expect Li Yun to be so strong. He actually chased away the people from the International Martial Arts Committee. Furthermore, he did it in such a violent way. Although he was still a bit worried, the host was secretly happy. Now that the Huaxia people were competing, once they won the competition, there would be this committee or that committee that would appear and insist on checking if the Huaxia people had used banned substances. Check his motherfucker. It was natural for the Westerners to win the competition, but there was a problem when the Huaxia people won. It was the same in the previous sports meet. All kinds of misjudgments and illegal referees caused a lot of athletes to lose their championship. This time, Li Yun had avenged everyone's resentment. You're very strong. I will use all my strength to defeat you. As number 9 said that, he descended from the sky and stomped towards Li Fan. But Li Fan just stood there and raised both of his hands to receive this stomp. Bam! The stage beneath Li Fan's feet started to collapse, and number 9 was lifted into the air. Following that, Li Fan grabbed number 9's legs with both of his hands and used a bear strike wrestling technique, smashing number 9 to the ground. Kaboom! With a loud sound, number 9's body left a huge pit on the ground. Interesting. Number 9 didn't seem to be injured. This fall only caused him some pain. Very good, you're a good opponent. Number 9 leaped up and at the same time, punched towards Li Fan. This punch was extremely fast, as if it broke through the air. Crane hand. With a crane hand, Li Fan slapped away number 9's fist. Good. Number 9 was overjoyed. He threw over 10 punches, but they were all slapped away by Li Fan's crane hand. In front of Li Fan, it was as if there was a half-meter wide defensive net. No matter how number 9 attacked, he couldn't get within half a meter of him. There's actually a martial artist like you in China. Amazing. Number 9 finally felt that a martial artist was a bit interesting, but this is not enough to defeat me. Number 9's body was even stronger than Superman. He suddenly threw out another punch, and a huge fist wind immediately blew up. Kaboom! Half of the stage disappeared under the power of this punch. The surrounding spectators were all excited. This was really such a strong strength. Humans, could they really do it to this extent? Motherfucker. Really strong. Lu Bufan couldn't help but stare with his eyes wide open. Is this the fucking strength that a human should have? Ha ha ha, eat this. That Chinese brat should have turned into ashes by now. The bank boss in front of the live broadcast also laughed happily. But very quickly, he couldn't laugh anymore. Because a figure was slowly appearing from the rolling smoke. So that's how it is. Li Fan's hands were still in his pockets, as if he was deep in thought. In the end, I still perfectly fused with the dragon gene. And I'm getting more and more proficient. Dragon gene? Number 9 looked at his right hand that had turned into a dragon claw and seemed to understand some things. But, this is also my strength. Saying that, he threw another punch at Li Fan. But this time, Li Fan didn't dodge. Instead, he went forward and put his palm on number 9's fist. Both of their fists and palms added together. Their strength finally collided. Bang! The stage below the two of them continued to collapse. The powerful strength quickly spread out. Chapter 1630. With a loud bang, the surrounding ground started to shake. The elders of the Sky Martial Pavilion stepped forward one after another. Every one of them opened their arms and released their own inner energy. They connected together and formed a defensive net, blocking the power of Li Fan and number 9 within it, allowing the audience to be spared. These two people are too scary. The host looked at the battle with his mouth agape. He could feel the ground shaking. It was obvious how scary these two people were. They are both top-notch super experts. Jiang Feng felt the power of the two of them and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. They actually exploded with power close to that of a saint. However, Li Fan probably hadn't used his full strength yet, right? This number 9 seemed to have a lot of potential. The United States was really awesome this time. They actually developed such a sick monster. Compared to this number 9, their previous Zeus plan and this and that were all child's play. When the smoke dissipated, number 9 was half kneeling on the ground. His body was emitting black smoke. He seemed to have suffered serious injuries. And Li Fan stood opposite him. His clothes were a little charred, but he was fine. He was looking at number 9 and cupped his hands. Thank you. The host was doubtful. Does this mean that number 9 lost? It looks like number 9 has lost. Jiang Feng looked at the messy arena. I wonder if he can continue fighting. There were sighs of regret around. There were many people cheering for number 9. However, number 9 was still kneeling there, not moving. The bank boss had already taken out a gun from his drawer and was prepared to commit suicide. The judge was also preparing to announce the result. Just at this moment, a girl shouted from the stands. Stand up, number 9. It was Windsor. Hearing this voice, number 9's body shook slightly. Then, he slowly opened his eyes. He stood up bit by bit and moved his muscles and bones. There were cheers all around. They were all celebrating for number 9. His popularity was indeed not just for show. Not bad. Li Fan also praised, you are totally different from when I first saw you. Look at how popular you are now. You seem to know me. Number 9 rubbed his neck, but it doesn't matter. I just need to defeat you. Why must I win? I feel that you don't seem to have any interest in being number 1 in the world, right? Li Fan felt a little strange. Because only by defeating you can I realize the value of my life. Number 9 says, I'm different from you, so I have to defeat you. As soon as he finished speaking, the muscles on number 9's body rippled, and black scales grew on his skin. Very soon, a massive dragon person that was close to 3 meters tall stood in front of Li Fan. He had a pair of horns on his head, and his yellow eyes stared at Li Fan, giving off a powerful killing intent. The surrounding cheers turned into gasps of surprise. Number 9's change caught them off guard. But not long after, wild cries rang out again, as if they were even more excited about Number 9's change. This was a martial arts arena. No matter how dangerous it was below, the one who was in danger was his opponent. And they were spectators, crazy for violence, cheering for blood. The bank boss also shed tears of excitement. Now, he didn't have to die. But at this moment, he was filled with regret. If only he had listened to that Chinese actuary earlier, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Brother, we still have a chance, right? The bank boss said to the German actuary beside him, but the latter couldn't answer him. This brother had already hung himself. Number 9 is very strong, and he has dragon blood in him. He definitely won't lose. I need to rely on him to turn the tables. That's right. As he spoke, Number 9 had already let out a roar. A huge wave of air surged out, causing the surrounding audience to feel slightly dizzy. Is this also a Western orc? The host couldn't help but ask in surprise. It should be. Jiang Feng naturally knew that he had Li Fan's genes in his body, and this was Li Fan's dragon blood. But there were some things that he could say, and some he couldn't. This matter, he definitely couldn't say it. He couldn't possibly tell the people that Number 9 was a super weapon that the United States had collected the genes of Chinese experts, right? Is it the orcs or our Chinese martial artists who are stronger? Let's wait and see. Everyone was indeed looking forward to it. Meanwhile, the battle between Li Fan and Number 9 was still ongoing. As the last round of the quarterfinals, the battle between the two of them seemed to have ignited the climax of today's competition. Number 9 suddenly opened his mouth and rushed towards Li Fan. Li Fan frowned, feeling a threat. Number 9 spat out a bluish-white frost, instantly freezing half of the arena. Li Fan's body was also within it, and he was directly frozen into an ice sculpture. He stood there motionlessly, while Number 9 leaped over, and the tail behind him swung heavily towards the ice sculpture. Bang! The ice sculpture was directly smashed, and the surrounding audience cried out in alarm. The supporters also shouted, "Oh my God, could it be that contestant Li Yun died just like that? Where are you looking at?" Jiang Feng stretched out his hand and pointed, "Isn't he standing there perfectly fine?" The host was surprised, and Number 9 also turned his head in shock, looking behind him. Li Fan stood there with his arms crossed. And the ice that was just smashed was just an ordinary ice cube. What Li Fan had left behind was an afterimage, and it was condensed with his energy, which was why it was frozen. But in an instant, the energy dissipated, and although the ice sculpture was frozen, the person was long gone. Roar! Number 9 roared, and with a stomp of his feet, the ground cracked, and in an instant, he was in front of Li Fan, and opened his mouth, directly biting towards Li Fan. Li Fan stretched out his hands, and directly grabbed Number 9's mouth, flipped him over, and smashed him onto the ground. Li Fan's own strength had long surpassed the saint rank, and after this Number 9 evolved, he also had the strength of a saint rank, and did not know any martial arts, so he still could not do anything to Li Fan. "You're still too inexperienced." As Li Fan said this, a dragon-shattering hand directly penetrated Number 9's steel-like skin, and pierced into the position of his chest, directly pinching Number 9's heart. As killing was not allowed in the competition, Li Fan did not take out Number 9's heart. And he believed that with Number 9's vitality, even if he pulled out his heart, he would not necessarily die. After all, he was a modified human, different from ordinary people. Li Fan only pinched Number 9's heart, and infused his own energy into it, causing Number 9's heart to stop for 5 seconds. This was more effective than hitting Number 9's acupuncture points, and Number 9's body suddenly stiffened. Li Fan immediately lifted his body, and threw him out of the arena. Chapter 1631. Number 9 should have been frozen for at least 4 to 5 seconds, but when he was about to hit the ground, he suddenly moved. He swept his tail and stabbed it into the stage, forcefully stabilizing his body. At the same time, he grabbed Li Fan's body and smashed him to the ground. Pang! The ground cracked once again, and Li Fan's body lay inside. Number 9 beat Li Fan up crazily. His fists, legs, and tail attacked Li Fan so hard that he couldn't fight back at all. Jiang Feng looked at the battle below and muttered in his heart. Facing such a troublesome number 9, what should Li Fan do? Could he beat him without exposing his identity? It would probably be very difficult. Even if it was him, if he didn't use Shura transformation, he probably wouldn't be number 9's match. How could he beat him without killing him? Li Fan, I want to see what you can do. Fight! Kill him! The bank boss shouted crazily in front of the TV, and number 9's attacks became fiercer and fiercer. The surrounding ground was shaken to the point that a spider web pattern appeared. Number 9 finally opened her mouth, preparing to add a layer of ice to Li Fan. Right at this moment, Li Fan suddenly leaped up and kicked number 9's chin fiercely with both feet, sending number 9 flying backward as he spat out a stream of frost directly into the sky. Rushing thunder kick. Li Fan used the deer strike technique. His legs were covered in lightning as he continuously kicked number 9's body. Number 9 kept retreating, and his body also entered a slightly numb state. What Li Fan was best at was a series of continuous skills. After he finished kicking, he turned around and kicked. With a white deer reverse kick, the heel of his foot landed on number 9's head, sending him to the ground with a kick. The ground was once again smashed into a pit. Dragon spitting pearl. Li Fan condensed a silver-white ball of light in his hands and pushed it into the crater, hitting number 9's body. Kaboom! The ground trembled, and number 9 finally spat out a large mouthful of blood. This move had injured him quite badly. Although he had steel-like dragon skin, it was useless under Li Fan's devastating attacks. For a martial grandmaster, Li Fan's usage of penetrating force was a piece of cake. Bear King raises the cauldron. Li Fan grabbed number 9's huge body again and lifted it into the air. Following that, Li Fan's arms thickened, and his muscles bulged. Father Bear Pile Driver. Li Fan grabbed number 9 and jumped up high. Then, he turned his head around and smashed it into the ground. Before number 9 could react, Li Fan pulled him out of the ground with a wild bear hug and placed him in front of him. Ape King Cannon. Li Fan took a horse stance and struck out another palm strike. Boom! Number 9's body turned into a cannonball, immediately bouncing off and smashing heavily outside the arena, creating a row of gullies on the ground. Number 9 leaped up and let out a wild roar. But at this time, he had already lost. Come back, number 9. You've already lost. Windsor's voice rang out again, entering number 9's ears. Number 9 immediately lowered his head, and his blood-red eyes regained some clarity. Windsor heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, number 9 wasn't impulsive. Looks like today's last match of the top 8 has ended with number 9's defeat. The host's voice rang out again, echoing around the entire arena. Number 9 looked at Li Fan a few more times, then slowly turned back into his human form and walked towards his own contestant area. What an exciting battle! Our fighting ring has also become tattered. We have a day to rest tonight. Let's look forward to tomorrow's semifinals and finals. This is the Huaxia Martial Arts Competition. Thank you, contestants, for your exciting battles. Thank you, Commander-in-Chief Jiang, for your commentary. Thank you, everyone, for watching. In front of the television, the bank boss had already committed suicide. Li Fan walked towards his resting room, but a staff member stopped him. Mr. Li, your room has been changed. Please head to the 5th floor. This is your room card. The staff member passed the room card to Li Fan. Li Fan was a little puzzled. Why did they change rooms every day? He came to the room on the 5th floor and went in to take a look. He realized that it was a very luxurious suite with extremely modern facilities. It was almost at the standard of a 6-star hotel. The conference is really extravagant, but wool comes from the sheep. Thinking of the daily ticket money and the online broadcasting rights, Li Fan knew that the organizing committee must have earned a lot this time. But no matter how good the house was, it was meaningless to Li Fan. He sat on the sofa and immediately closed his eyes to regulate his breathing. At this moment, the phone rang in Li Fan's room. Strange, who is looking for me? And how did they find my room? Li Fan saw a remote control beside him. There was a button on it, so he pressed it. The television screen in front of him lit up and a man appeared on the screen. This man looked to be in his 40s and was a little balding. He sat in front of the table with his hands propped up. With a little arrogance, he looked at Li Fan with a serious face. Nice to meet you. I'm the chief of the Martial Arts Bureau. You can call me Chief Nyo. After the other party finished speaking, he seemed to be waiting for Li Fan to say some flattering words. But Li Fan just sat there and just shrugged his shoulders. Oh, Chief Nyo. What's the matter? Chief Nyo frowned slightly. He seemed to be very dissatisfied with Li Fan's attitude. What kind of attitude is this? This is the chief of the Martial Arts Bureau. There was a bespectacled man who looked like a secretary on the screen. He immediately reprimanded Li Fan, is this how you treat your superior? You really don't know etiquette. This is interesting. Li Fan chuckled, I'm not working under you. Why should I be respectful to you? So what if you're a leader? Don't forget that you're also a leader elected by the people. Why, are you putting on airs in front of the people? You. Don't talk nonsense. The secretary was about to reprimand him but Chief Nyo waved his hand and stopped him. You are indeed not my subordinate. But since you're a member of the martial arts world, you should be under the control of our Martial Arts Bureau. Otherwise, the Martial Arts Bureau will not recognize the legal status of your 7 Knights Villa and will not issue you a Martial Master Qualification Certificate. Martial Master Qualification Certificate. This was a very strange method that Chief Nyo thought of. As the saying goes, a new official makes 3 changes. After Chief Nyo took office, he immediately proposed a few changes to the current martial arts world. The first was the establishment of the heroic martial sect. It was supposed to promote the orthodox Chinese martial arts. But the sect leader, Nyo Shuian, was a weirdo who practiced Japanese martial arts. The second change was to regulate the status of each sect. All sects must register with the Martial Arts Bureau. As for the old sects, a restriction order was issued. Those who did not register within a month would be disqualified and the sect would be disbanded. And the last change was to give the martial artists the so-called Martial Master Qualification Certificate. Chapter 1632. This so-called Martial Master Qualification Certificate is actually very similar to the Marvel World's hero registration method. Every Huaxia martial artist, whose strength had reached perfection, had to go to the headquarters to register their identity. If they do not have an identity, they will be regarded as an illegal martial artist and will be wanted by the Imperial Army. Then, their cultivation will be forcefully dispersed. After the registration of martial artists, they will also be subject to the country's control. Every year, martial artists will have a score. If they violate the country's laws and regulations, other than being sentenced, they will also have their points deducted according to the headquarters rules. After deducting 12 points, their qualification certificate will be cancelled and they will become an illegal martial artist. Li Fan does not know whether he should say this or not. Martial artists have superhuman strength and must be controlled. This is without a doubt. But in the headquarters rules, there is a rule that registered martial artists must unconditionally obey the country's management. This made Li Fan a little uncomfortable. As a Chinese martial artist, you should obey our headquarters orders. Bureau Chief Nyo reminded Li Fan, once your qualification certificate is cancelled, I think, you should know what will happen. Are you threatening me? Li Fan slightly squinted his eyes and looked at Bureau Chief Nyo on the screen. I am just reminding you. Bureau Chief Nyo said, I will naturally not care what you like to do. But this time, you must obey the headquarters' orders. I wonder what our dear headquarter is going to give me this time. Li Fan decided to ask first, but he felt that he had already guessed it. Tomorrow's semi-final, you must let Niu Xuan win. Bureau Chief Niu ordered. Fake fight? You are all from the heroic martial sect, this is not fake fight. Bureau Chief Niu said very seriously, we are all from the same sect, it is not good to fight to the death. Why don't we just let Niu Xuan win? Since it is like this, why not let me win? Li Fan looked at Bureau Chief Niu with a smile that is not a smile. Niu Xuan is after all the sect leader of the heroic martial sect. If he wins, countless people will rush to the heroic martial sect. At that time, the prestige of the heroic martial sect will be greatly boosted, which will be very beneficial to the martial arts world and even to China. Li Fan, I have also carefully thought and researched to find this method. This is also for the good of the martial arts world. If you really understand the martial arts world, you should not say such words. Li Fan reminded him, to every martial artist, a duel is sacred. I will never agree to such a request of yours. Go find someone else. You don't know how to appreciate. The secretary couldn't help but curse, how dare you resist the leader's order? Let me emphasize again, I am not a subordinate of the headquarters. Your orders have no effect on me. Li Fan rolled his eyes, and you guys are too whimsical. Even if I admit defeat and let Niu Xuan enter the finals, do you think he can win? At that time, Muronging will win, and will Niu competition, that. Niu. Bureau Chief Niu reminded Li Fan, moreover, this is not something you should be concerned about. This is really funny. You come over and inexplicably order me and tell me that this matter does not need my concern. Who do you think you are? My father. What? Do you feel like being a father? Do you think that everyone in the world is your son? Let me tell you, other people may be afraid of you, but I am not. Li Fan, are you really lawless? Bureau Chief Niu's voice became colder. I have always been a law-abiding citizen. Li Fan chuckled, however, according to the law, you do not have the authority to ask me to do anything. Instead, it is you who made such a rude request. It really makes people doubt your standard. Li Fan, I am advising you now. Bureau Chief Niu became a lot stricter. He seemed to have a trace of hostility towards Li Fan. If you insist on it, you will have to bear the consequences. Fine, I want to see what the consequences will be. Li Fan disdainfully said, moreover, you are really thinking too much. Let's not talk about whether Muronging can defeat Martial Emperor Liao Ju. Even if she wins, will she admit defeat to that idiot Niu Xuan? You have underestimated a martial artist's sense of honor. Even if Muronging dies, she will not follow your bastard's thoughts. Unable to communicate. Bureau Chief Niu was very dissatisfied with Li Fan's attitude, since we do not agree with each other, you will have to bear the consequences. Thank you for the reminder. The road of Jianghu is long, let's wait and see. Li Fan did not spoil this Bureau Chief Niu at all. As the saying goes, a few mice spoil a pot of soup. It was precisely because of people like Bureau Chief Niu that everyone became more and more disappointed with the system. The sins of Bureau Chief Niu alone could offset the merits and efforts of people like General Ran and the others. You rejected him just like that, aren't you afraid of getting into trouble? The voice of the Holy Maiden came into his ears. Li Fan turned his head and saw the Holy Maiden wearing a black gauze dress. She was standing on the balcony with her arms crossed, looking at him and laughing. What are you afraid of? At most we will just fight. Li Fan curled his lips, the task that General Ran gave me was to participate as a disciple of the heroic martial sect. He did not have any other requirements. What Bureau Chief Niu, he came out and gave orders, why would I care about him? He is still the little tyrant from back then, that's why you need my help. The Holy Maiden winked at Li Fan, I reckon there is no hope for me to be the champion. To actually meet a martial emperor who practices the true immortal arts, this is really unexpected. It doesn't matter, there is me and Muronging to deal with him. Li Fan said, the list for tomorrow's finals has already been decided. I will fight with Niu Shuyan, and Muronging will deal with Martial Emperor. Aren't you worried about your fiancé? The holy maiden could not help but ask. She is very strong. Li Fan had never doubted that. If only I could be as strong as her, I would be able to compete with a martial emperor. Your strength has improved very quickly too. Li Fan was a little curious. How did you practice it? This is a set of demonic techniques that my sect master has improved, and it is officially named the Invincible Divine Technique. Damn it, it reminds me of Jin Yong's Invincible Divine Technique. Li Fan could not help but roll his eyes. Li Wei really knows how to copy others' words. It's different, this set of demonic techniques is very domineering. The holy maiden said, the speed of cultivation is extremely fast, more than 10 times that of ordinary people. However, the price is also very high, and your lifespan will be shortened by half. Damn it! You actually practiced such an evil technique too. I am very weak. The holy maiden said, so, if I can contribute my life to the sect, I will be very happy too. This is a sick belief. Li Fan reprimanded. An unhealthy belief is a cult. Chapter 1633. This is the first time Li Fan said such serious words to the saintess, causing the saintess to immediately frown. Isn't this a bit too much? I was born in solipsism since young, and I am also the saintess. Is it really okay for you to say such words in front of me? I am only speaking the truth. Whether you accept it or not, it is up to you. Li Fan shrugs his shoulders. He does not care if the saintess accepts it or not, he still has to express his point of view. Solipsism's method is too much, Li Fan does not like it. Using the lives of followers to fulfill the dream of the church, this method is simply too absurd. Forget it, it is useless to talk about this with you. Let's talk about tomorrow's plan. The saintess starts to use voice transmission to chat with Li Fan. This way, it is more confidential. I will not run. Li Fan emphasizes, I am the little overlord, Li Fan. How can I run when I cannot win? In other words, even if I run, once I use the dragon traveling 9 heavens, who can catch up to me? To target martial artists, China has specially designed an energy detection device. The saintess points at Li Fan, even if you can hide your body's aura, you will not be able to perfectly hide your energy. For Huaxia, your energy value is like walking around with a huge searchlight. So exaggerated? Li Fan thought to himself, this is more like a surveillance system. Moreover, tomorrow, you should have a big battle. At that time, you will consume a lot of internal energy. Can you guarantee that you can easily use your dragon traveling 9 heavens? Therefore, we must have a plan B. What's your plan? I have already arranged it. I am only here to inform you. I hope that you can listen to my command tomorrow. Alright, then we will see each other tomorrow. After fighting for a day, Li Fan is a bit tired. After all, he is still a human and not an immortal who does not know exhaustion. I wonder if a martial emperor would feel tired when fighting. Especially when fighting against a powerful opponent like number 9. Not only does it consume physical strength, it also consumes mental strength. Speaking of which, that number 9, if he were to fight with all his might, would he have the confidence to defeat him? Li Fan pondered for a moment. He might not be able to defeat him, but he could still kill him if he wanted to. Furthermore, he still had a trump card like Heavenly Thunder Transformation. Are you going to sleep? Do I need to sleep with you? The saintess winked at Li Fan. Looking at Li Fan's dumbfounded expression, she smiled and walked out. This woman is really a vixen. Li Fan said that they had lived together for so long, but why didn't he feel that she had such a side to her? Good night, ladies. Li Fan said to the air, then fell on the bed and fell asleep. While Li Fan was sleeping, Liang Ru had already set off for Li Family Island. After competing with Murong Ying, the little lass deeply felt that she was not good enough. Taking advantage of the holiday, she decided to go to Li Family Island to train hard. Coincidentally, a girl named Wang Yuer from Seven Knights Villa was about to leave. Liang Ru took the recommendation letter that Dragoness gave her and went back with Wang Yuer. Tonight, there was someone who was not in the mood to sleep. Niu Shuyan was somewhat unhappy with Bureau Chief Niu in the video call. Second uncle, didn't you say that I was going to be the champion? Why did you suddenly tell me that there was a change of plans today? Don't be in a hurry to blame me. Things are indeed out of control. If Niu Shuyan was a bit unhappy, then Bureau Chief Niu was especially unhappy. Li Fan disobeyed my order and did not want you to advance to the finals. He is an idiot. Niu Shuyan scolded, this scum has a problem with his brain. He actually dared to disobey your order. It seems like he doesn't want to stay in China anymore. After Niu Shuyan finished scolding, he contemptuously said, however, with my ability, I can easily defeat that fame-fishing fellow. He did not admit defeat because he is retarded. If he obediently admitted defeat, at least he would not be injured. Now, I want to tear off one of his arms. That's fine. Teach him a lesson. Bureau Chief Niu nodded, this kind of uncontrollable person, leaving him in the system will only cause us trouble. Get rid of him, this task will be handed over to you. Okay, second uncle, leave it to me. Niu Shuyan hurriedly said, oh right, last time you said that you would promote me to the headquarters as the honorary chairman. Is this still effective? As long as you win the championship, entering the headquarters will naturally not be a problem. Easy. Niu Shuyan sneered twice. He seemed to have already seen Li Fan kneeling in front of him, beaten black and blue, begging for mercy. You should not participate in this kind of activity. In the Martial Emperor's lounge, you stood in front of him and said, you should come with me to find the whereabouts of the flower. I have no one by my side that I can use. The Martial Emperor declined, even if I want to help you find it, the sea of people is vast. When I take the championship of this competition and become the alliance leader of the martial world, I will naturally be able to command the heroes of the martial world and let them help me find the whereabouts of the flower. You frowned. Although what the Martial Emperor said made sense, he still felt a little uncomfortable when the other party rejected his opinion. You should remember your identity. What identity do I have? You are our immortal slave. Is that so? The Martial Emperor laughed. A golden divine dragon suddenly flew out from behind him and squeezed into the suite. With a claw, it pressed Yu's body under its claw. What are you doing? Yu's face was filled with fear. He struggled for a moment but was actually unable to break free from the Martial Emperor's control. My strength has long surpassed yours. Immortal slave. That doesn't exist. The Martial Emperor looked at Yu in disdain, don't forget, in the sky beyond heaven's law, the strong are respected. Don't be arrogant. Yu ridiculed the Martial Emperor. Our sky beyond heaven already expected that there would be a guy like you. So the true immortal arts is flawed. If not for our sky beyond heaven's higher-ups to help you remove the hidden danger, when this true immortal arts reaches the third level, it will backfire on you. Is that so? The Martial Emperor was not the least bit worried. Do you think that my 100 years of martial arts training was for nothing? It's just a small flaw. Under my powerful cultivation, it has long been suppressed. How is that possible? Yu was in despair. However, there is no conflict between you and me. If you are willing to cooperate with me, I will also cooperate with you. Li Fan is our common enemy. Between you and me, we should join hands and get rid of him first, right? As the Martial Emperor spoke, he snapped his fingers. The golden dragon lifted its claw from Yu's body. You. What exactly are you planning? Yu looked at the Martial Emperor in confusion. A trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Chapter 1634. This world is very big. The Martial Emperor said to Jade, since you want me to be your spokesperson, then you have to agree to one of my requests. In this world, mark out a region for me. In this region, I have absolute authority. Those who want to live can come to my territory and receive my protection. And I will guarantee that they will not leave this region and form their own kingdom. Your sky beyond sky can enjoy the bright space outside. Wait, let me ask. Jade did not say anything and closed his eyes, as if he was communicating with someone. How big do you want? Jade suddenly opened his eyes and asked. Just the imperial capital. The martial emperor had already thought of a place, that is where the dragon vein of China is located. It is suitable for him to make an independent kingdom. Alright, but your population cannot exceed 1 million. Also, you cannot recruit any martial artists. After communicating, Jade made a request to the martial emperor. Alright. The martial emperor nodded. 1 million people, not too much, not too little, just right. Also, our sky beyond sky will send an adjutant to your city to supervise your citizens. Don't worry, we only want to see if you have any intention of rebelling. If you do, we will definitely not be merciful. If not, you can continue to rule. Our sky beyond sky is also willing to acknowledge your existence and treat you as a part of sky beyond sky. Also, we will plant a barrier around your territory. This barrier will restrict you from coming out. It will also ensure that our sky beyond sky can smoothly land on Earth. Since this guy has already broken through the trap and shackles of the true immortal technique, Jade and sky beyond sky have no better way to restrict him. But if he can make such a deal with him, it would not be bad. In any case, his true immortal technique can at most allow him to train to the upper immortal level. In the end, he will not be able to fight against sky immortals. He can only submit to the rule of sky immortals. When the time comes, he can do whatever he wants, as long as he helps sky beyond sky complete the plan to expel the humans. Alright. The martial emperor did not object. When he made the deal with the other party, he was actually testing the other party's trump card. There is a saying in the art of war, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Furthermore, he knew too little about the heavens beyond heaven. He only knew that they were divided into the heavenly immortal, the upper immortal and the lower immortal. Below that were the immortal slaves who worked like slaves. However, why would a powerful being like the realm beyond heavens avoid humans? If they really attacked, how could the humans withstand their attacks? According to Jade, the realm beyond heaven had once made an agreement with the humans. As long as humans were present, the realm beyond heaven could not invade their land in space. Thus, they could only hole up in the outer world where resources were limited. However, the martial emperor felt that this was unlikely. Now that the matter concerned the survival of the sky beyond heavens, these people were not easy to deal with. Why would they reach an agreement with him? The martial emperor had his own guesses. The sky beyond heaven was definitely afraid of something about humans. That was why they did not come down when humans were around. Moreover, when he said that he would establish a regional city, they would have to set up a barrier. They were already a group of ordinary people. Could they still pose a threat to the powerful grandmasters? In that case, rather than spying on humans, it would be better to say that they were isolating humans perfectly. There was something fishy about this, and it became a bargaining chip for the martial emperor. Since everyone has reached an agreement, I will naturally complete the human extermination plan for the sky beyond heaven. The martial emperor used both kindness and power to appease Jade. However, you also know that Li Fan and his 7 Knights Villa are a powerful opponent. If we don't eliminate them, I will not be able to fulfill the wish of the sky beyond heaven. Alright, since that's the case, you can finish this match. Jade could only take a step back. But don't forget, the human extermination plan must be completed quickly. Otherwise, you know what the consequences will be. Everyone is cooperating now. It is mutually beneficial. I will naturally do my best to help you. However, don't threaten me. If you threaten me again, you will also know what the consequences will be. The martial emperor and Jade each had their own ulterior motives. The two of them began to discuss the plan for tomorrow. Among the 4 semi-finalists, only Murong-ing was very quiet. She meditated alone for the whole night. It was unknown whether it was because she was angry with Li Fan or for some other reason, but she did not come to find Li Fan. The next morning, the competition venue had already been renovated. After Li Fan had his breakfast, he once again came to the contestants' seating area according to the committee's request, preparing to participate in today's semi-finals. The surrounding stands were still filled with people. There were heads everywhere, densely packed. At a glance, it was impossible to tell who was who. The four of them gained fans overnight. The support group pulled up banners and shouted. Cheers rose and fell one after another. In comparison, Li Fan's fans were much fewer. After all, Li Fan did not have any fame, nor did he have any style. His fighting style was not as flashy as the martial emperor, not as beautiful as Murong Ying, and not as straightforward as Niu Shuyan. However, today's opening match was Li Fan against Niu Shuyan. The two of them stood on the arena according to the requirements and looked at each other. Welcome to the semi-finals. As usual, we have invited a professional commentator, Commander Jiang Feng. The host used his pleasant voice and continued to sit on the high platform, explaining the competition. As everyone can see, our arena has been restored to its original state overnight. This also makes us look forward to today's few great gods. What kind of exciting competition will they present to us? Everyone, please take a look. The first two contestants of the semi-finals are already standing on the stage. They are actually disciples of the heroic martial sect. Let me introduce them to everyone again. The one on the left is the elite disciple of the heroic martial sect, Li Yun. Although he is young, his martial arts are already very exquisite. However, the one standing opposite him is the sect leader of the heroic martial sect, Niu Shuyan. I am really looking forward to today's competition. It is actually the two experts of the heroic martial sect who will decide the winner. Commander Jiang, who do you think will win? Oh, Li Yun. Jiang Feng was usually vague, but this time, he directly said that someone would win, causing the host to be surprised. Why is that? Didn't Commander Jiang also praise sect leader Niu? Why do you think Li Yun will win this time? Because Li Yun is stronger. Jiang Feng's words made Niu Shuyan, who was standing below, frown. This slippery guy, he admitted defeat yesterday, but today he said such words to disgust me. That's fine, I will use my fists to let these slippery people understand what true power is. Li Yun, your battle ends here. Niu Shuyan tightened his belt, then pointed at Li Fan, extended his thumb and pointed downwards. Chapter 1635. Before the fight started, Niu Shuyan had already humiliated Li Fan. The surrounding audience was shouting Niu Shuyan's name. They liked Niu Shuyan's arrogance and domineeringness. This was the demeanor and attitude an expert should have. Whatever enemy, whatever opponent, just knock them down with one punch and let them eat shit. Our contestant Niu provoked his own sect's disciple the moment he came up. Although this is a loss of the demeanor a sect leader should have, it seems to be welcomed by the audience. Oh, that's right, they love this domineering Niu Shuyan. Since that's the case, I think it's better to call sect leader Niu Shuyan Little Overlord. Jiang Feng suddenly said with a smile. When Li Fan heard this, he thought that Jiang Feng was definitely doing this on purpose. He was the best at fanning the flames, and now he was displaying it to the extreme. No matter what, Niu Shuyan's emotions had already been stirred up by him. I will defeat you in 3 moves. Niu Shuyan pointed 3 fingers at Li Fan. Today, right here, I will tear off your disguise as an expert. Then I will have to trouble sect leader. Li Fan was neither servile nor overbearing. He first cupped his fists and bowed to Niu Shuyan, explaining the rules of the competition. However, Niu Shuyan's appearance did remind Li Fan of his past self. The competition bell has rung, the first semi-final match has begun. As the host announced, Niu Shuyan suddenly moved. He said that he would defeat Li Fan in 3 moves, so he directly threw a straight punch. With an indomitable force, it directly rushed towards Li Fan like a flood. The huge fist aura it carried seemed like it was going to drown Li Fan. The surrounding stone tiles on the ground began to crack again, as if they could not withstand the pressure of the fist aura. But Li Fan stood there, looking at Niu Shuyan's fist coming towards him. Just when Niu Shuyan's fist was about to land on Li Fan's face, Li Fan's shoulders shook and his fist suddenly moved. Fight the tiger. Taking advantage of the fact that Niu Shuyan's old strength had weakened and he had yet to generate new strength, Li Fan's fist landed solidly on his lower abdomen. Bang! Niu Shuyan's body curled up like a shrimp as he flew out and landed heavily on the ground. The surrounding audience was dumbfounded. What was going on? The domineering Niu Shuyan from a few days ago was defeated in one move. I was too careless. Niu Shuyan jumped up from the ground again. Then, he directly flew forward and suddenly kicked Li Fan with a huge force. He attacked Li Fan again. However, Li Fan still did not dodge. When Niu Shuyan kicked over, Li Fan leaned to the side and avoided his kick. At the same time, Li Fan wrapped his arms around Niu Shuyan's waist and used the force of his kick to fall behind him. Subdue bear. Bang! What a beautiful back throw. It was as classic as a textbook. Especially when he borrowed the force, Niu Shuyan's head smashed into the ground and he fainted for a moment. Oh my god, sect leader Niu actually suffered 2 moves in a row. The host could see some clues and could not help but exclaim, this contestant Li Yun is not simple. Or could it be that sect leader Niu intentionally let him have 2 moves? Didn't sect leader Niu say that 3 moves will determine the winner? Jiang Feng chuckled and said, there is still 1 more move and the winner will be decided soon. While speaking, Niu Shuyan pulled out his head and jumped up again. Then, he glared at Li Fan and transmitted a message to him. Li Fan, you dare to disobey orders. What orders? Li Fan crossed his arms, I am a special agent of the State Security 9th Bureau. The only mission I have accepted is to participate in this martial arts competition as a disciple of the heroic martial sect. The headquarters must have given you an order to lose to me. Niu Shuyan roared in disbelief. Idiot. Li Fan ridiculed, you and the headquarters are both idiots. Especially you, since you are a martial artist, if you want to win, you must rely on your own fists. If you can't do it, then get out of the stage. You are courting death. Niu Shuyan roared, from today onwards, you are the enemy of the headquarters. And I will use my strongest power to completely defeat you. Then, I will send you to the prison that belongs to you. With that, Niu Shuyan suddenly jumped up high into the air. He raised his left hand and condensed a strong pressure. Volcano-level righteous fist. Li Fan looked at Niu Shuyan who was blocking the sunlight and instantly thought of Takeda. Japan's #1 martial arts master, this move was his lifetime's ultimate skill. In order to master this move, he did not know how many years he had painstakingly trained in Mount Fuji. Even away from his family, away from his own life, he trained this move day after day. Only then was he able to perfectly master the volcano-level righteous fist. And this Niu Shuyan only relied on the AI chip to learn this move. How could he understand the true meaning of this condensed fist? Prepare to die. True. Volcano-level righteous fist. Niu Shuyan's roar resounded throughout the entire arena. Everyone in the audience was moved by his imposing manner. After being modified by the Dragon AI chip, he possessed strength that surpassed that of Takeda. The Dragon AI chip activated, and the flame energy hidden in Niu Shuyan's body awakened. This is the mutant's power that the headquarters secretly injected into Niu Shuyan, the flame ability. Niu Shuyan's fist was also completely wrapped in a crimson flame. The pressure became more and more terrifying, causing people's hearts to palpitate. I feel like a volcano is about to erupt, the host wiped the sweat off his forehead, oh my god, so scary. Jiang Feng did not say anything. At this time, Li Fan should be thinking the same thing. Li Fan, you are dead meat. Niu Shuyan issued a final ultimatum to Li Fan, but Li Fan stood there, looking at the incoming fist, unmoved. Erupt. The power in Niu Shuyan's fist had been compressed to the limit. He suddenly punched at Li Fan below. Volcano eruption. A wave of blazing flame energy directly transformed into a huge flaming fist. It was like a punch from a giant, descending from the sky and smashing towards Li Fan. This fist instantly reached Li Fan's head, and in the next second, it would completely crush him into minced meat. However, Li Fan still did not move until the flaming fist was less than a centimeter away from him. The scorching heat had already started to burn his hair. At this moment, the world around Li Fan seemed to slow down. He raised his left fist and directly punched out. Lightning. Supreme Dragon Fist. It was as if a bolt of lightning had streaked across the sky, and the huge flaming fist immediately disintegrated. Li Fan was unscathed, and only maintained his punching posture. However, a fist-sized dent appeared on Niu Shuyan's chest. Chapter 1636. Niu Shuyan spat out a mouthful of blood. His body flew away and landed outside the ring. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. What a powerful punch, Jiang Feng mumbled to himself. He didn't have time to explain. All he could see was Li Fan's fist. In his mind, he could only think of the punch Li Fan had just used. It was a sure-kill punch, and also a punch that would decide the victory. Number 9 was sitting on the platform. She watched Li Fan's punch with Windsor. So strong. Number 9 finally spat out these two words. Oh, I've known you for so long, and this is the first time you've said someone is strong. Windsor couldn't help but laugh. He is strong, but he is not him. What do you mean? Nothing. Number 9 did not say it explicitly, but he could feel that this was his true Lord of Genes. The one he had defeated on the island before, was it possible that he was also a clone of some sort? Interesting punch. Emperor Wu crossed his arms and commented on Li Fan's punch. Is this really the power of a human? Jade still couldn't believe it. Impossible. He must have used some method. You underestimate the martial fighters. Emperor Wu warned Jade. If you don't want to lose, you should face your opponent. This was also a lesson that the martial emperor had learned. As a martial emperor, he had never lost. But if he lost, he couldn't lose in the same position. He has become stronger. Murong stood up from the contestant's seat and tidied up her black cheongsam. Murong Ying's cheongsam had a red phoenix embroidered on it. On the back, there were two big words, Murong. This was the glory of Murong Mountain Villa, and now it was being carried by Murong Ying. The first semi-final match ended with Li Yun's victory. Our leader Niu has fainted. The doctor sent him to the infirmary, but he is fine. He will only be unconscious for a while. The host announced the result of the competition. I really didn't expect that contestant Li would actually defeat her own sect leader in this martial arts tournament. I wonder if the heroic martial sect would consider changing to a new sect leader. In front of the TV, Chief Niu had already smashed the TV remote control. Immediately put a ban on Li Fan. Bureau Chief Niu growled, cancel his martial master qualification certificate and order the royal army to arrest him. Inform Jiang Feng to capture Li Fan as soon as the martial arts tournament ends. Don't let him leave the venue. The leader was furious, and the secretary hurriedly conveyed his message. When Jiang Feng received the news, he secretly smiled proudly. Everything went as he expected. Niu Shuyan successfully pushed the trap, and Li Fan fell into it. In this way, the first and third pages of the true immortal tactics would be his. He would find the second page sooner or later. When he cultivated the perfected immortal art and obtained the power of a martial monarch, would the pugilistic world still be able to resist him? Everything is ready. The report of the royal guards could be heard through the earpiece. Jiang Feng's expression did not change as he continued to watch the next match. Li Fan returned to the contestants' seats. The holy maiden had snuck in without him noticing and was sitting on the sofa waiting for him. The fight was very satisfying. It was indeed decided by 3 moves. The saintess winked at Li Fan. He asked for it. Li Fan said bluntly, "You've tarnished the honor of the martial arts competition, yet you still think you've mastered the volcano spirit fist that surpasses Takeda Takeda? What a retard. Didn't he master the fire mutation ability? Why do you think his fist technique is not as good as Takeda Takeda? He doesn't understand the true meaning of this punch." Li Fan explained, "Takeda Takeda lives in volcanoes all year round, so he knows what a real volcano looks like. Although Mount Fuji was an extinct volcano, it still contained a huge amount of power. What Takeda Takeda was doing was using his fists to release the power that had been accumulated for thousands of years. Therefore, Takeda Takeda's fist didn't need any flame. Just the momentum was enough to kill Niu Shuyan. So that's how it is. It seems that my understanding of martial arts is not as good as yours. Listening to you, it seems that you're better than me in other aspects. Of course, it's because you're stupid." The Saintess covered her mouth and chuckled, which made Li Fan unhappy. "I'm not stupid. It's just that there are too many smart people around me, so I can't stand out." Li Fan rolled his eyes, then sat next to the Saintess and looked outside. "Next is the battle between Murong Ying and Wu Huang. I don't know how it will turn out. Are you worried about your little wife?" "Of course I'm worried, but her character doesn't like me worrying about her." Li Fan knew Murong Ying very well, even more than he knew himself. The Saintess sat next to him with a bit of jealousy in her eyes. "In that case, you can watch it carefully." "I'm going to watch it carefully and use it as a reference for my future battles." "You martial arts fanatic," the Saintess was very helpless. Li Fan was a complete martial arts fanatic. He was so obsessed with martial arts that he forgot everything else. "Let's not talk anymore, they're fighting." In the arena, Liao Ju had already started fighting with Murong Ying. Both of them were proficient in materializing energy. Wu Huang's golden divine dragon was 10 meters long, flying and slapping, extremely powerful. As for Murong Ying, she directly condensed a phoenix. Although it was only 5 meters long, it was astonishingly big, and it was fighting with Wu Huang's divine dragon. She's clearly just a martial arts practitioner, how can she have such a perfect method of condensing energy? You sat in Wu Huang's contestant seating. When he saw this scene, he was very confused. Although it looked like the divine dragon was suppressing the phoenix, Wu Huang didn't have it easy. He was already frowning, because Murong Ying was carrying 2 swords and leaping towards him. This Murong Ying was multitasking. While urging the phoenix to fight, she could also use her powerful dual sword technique. The martial emperor immediately made the divine dragon swing its tail and block in front of him. Shua! Murong Ying instantly appeared behind the martial emperor. The hem of her cheongsam swayed slightly, revealing her fair thighs. She held 2 swords in her hands, and the divine dragon's tail was actually forcefully cut off. Damn it! The martial emperor thought to himself that things were not looking good. This Murong Ying was multitasking and actually attacked him in the dark. Although he was protected by the divine dragon, the martial emperor was not completely spared. 2 bloody sword wounds were imprinted on his chest. The divine dragon roared and suddenly opened its mouth, spitting out a golden bolt of lightning, directly smashing the phoenix into pieces. The remaining energy of the phoenix flew back to Murong Ying's body, covering her body with a layer of golden red radiance. Chapter 1637. A battle between dragons and phoenixes. A martial monarch's divine dragon was naturally stronger, but Murong Ying's dual swords were absolutely terrifying. Even a martial monarch who had cultivated the perfected immortal art would not dare to directly face Murong Ying's dual swords. This battle is really too exciting. The host exclaimed, to be able to watch such a battle, my life has not been in vain. I even forgot that this was just a martial arts competition, but a battle of magical powers. It is indeed very exciting. Both of them are absolute powerhouses. Their battle can be called an unparalleled battle. Jiang Feng thought to himself, is the perfected immortal art of a martial monarch really only this much power? Or is it that Murong Ying's yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword technique is too powerful that it can even kill an immortal? Jiang Feng thought carefully and felt that it should be the latter. According to his information, Li Fan and Murong created this yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword technique to kill the nine-tailed divine fox. When the nine-tailed divine fox went berserk, the two of them used this sword technique to perfectly suppress the fox. This was the immortal slaying sword technique. Therefore, even if a martial monarch had cultivated to this level, he would still be defeated by Murong Ying's dual swords. This woman Murong Ying was really scary. She actually managed to cultivate the yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword technique with her own strength. Multitasking was easy to say, but it was extremely difficult to actually put it into practice. This was not a problem that could be solved by drawing a circle with the left hand and drawing a square with the right hand. This was something that required two people to think in the same brain. Even with Jiang Feng's talent, he could not achieve this step of Murong Ying. If he wanted to learn this sword technique, there was only one way. That was to kill Murong Ying and absorb her sword technique. But to kill this woman was easier said than done. Jiang Feng could not help but laugh bitterly. When he saw Murong Ying and Li Fan, he really felt that since there was a Yu in the world, why would there be a Yang in the world? Moreover, they were a pair of male and female bullying others. The descendants of the Murong family are indeed interesting. The martial emperor suddenly controlled the golden dragon. He floated in the air and looked at Murong Ying, who was holding two swords in front of him. But it's a pity. Back then, the people of the Murong family created a set of Murong sword technique, and Murong Bo displayed this sword technique to the extreme. He mocked Murong Ying. In the end, when it comes to you, you've even thrown away your own family's swordsmanship and practiced a set of swordsmanship created by someone else. How pathetic. You don't deserve to have Murong's name printed on your back. Fuck. Li Fan almost cursed out loud. What the fuck? The martial emperor claimed to be the emperor of the martial arts world, but now he came to the arena to play tricks. If it was him, he would definitely be thick-skinned enough to fight the martial monarch. Murong Ying, on the other hand. She was too proud. You don't have the qualifications to evaluate my Murong family's swordsmanship. One of the swords in Murong Ying's hand fell apart, leaving only the other one. She held it in one hand and held it in front of her. This was the starting stance of Murong sword technique. Li Fan was so worried that the other half of his hair was about to turn white. Murong Ying really obediently fell into the trap. The Murong family's swordsmanship focused on using the sword to control the qi. But with just the sword qi, could he defeat the martial emperor who condensed energy into a divine dragon? No matter what, he cultivated the true immortal technique after all, and his strength was at the lower immortal realm. This is more like a successor of the Murong family. Although the martial emperor had set a trap, he felt deep respect for the opponent who was willing to follow his plan and display Murong sword technique. I have never admired anyone, but I think you are not bad. How about this, if you are willing to cripple your own martial arts, I can marry you as my empress and let you rule the harem in my kingdom. How about it? Retard. Murong Ying very directly rejected the martial emperor's words, you can go die now. Hee, I will use my own strength to let you understand. The martial emperor said as he continued to urge his divine dragon. This 10-meter-long divine dragon suddenly began to stretch its body. Very quickly, its length doubled and it coiled around the entire venue, causing the audience to exclaim in surprise. This is not some 3D special effect, this is a real dragon. Although it is condensed out of energy, it is still very cool. A lot of people could not help but take out their phones and began to take pictures. In China, dragons are the real auspicious sign. Go on Weibo and find someone to repost it, you will definitely get lucky. A group of people crazily posted on Weibo, while on the other side, the divine dragon had already slammed down its claw and directly charged towards Murong Ying. This should be the real Dragon King seal. But Murong Ying did not dodge. She held her sword and stood there, letting the dragon claw fall in front of her. I'll let you see the real Murong sword technique. As Murong Ying spoke, she suddenly swung her sword and a sword chi sword into the sky. This sword chi directly condensed into a fiery red phoenix, instantly piercing through the divine dragon's claw, directly twisting one of its claws into pieces. This can also be condensed into a shape. The martial emperor was a little surprised. My goodness, this Muronging is not simple. He had indeed underestimated her. Her talent was probably even higher than his. Impossible, I am the strongest martial artist in the world, and I will be the strongest immortal in the future. How could someone surpass me? This is impossible. 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix. Muronging brandished her sword once again, and 100 flaming birds soared into the sky, directly passing by the divine dragon and flying towards the martial emperor, who was unable to retaliate. The gigantic divine dragon used its body to wrap around the martial emperor, blocking the flaming birds for him. These flaming birds continuously exploded on the dragon's body, setting off balls of flames that continuously weakened the divine dragon's strength. Even if I use Murong's sword chi, I am still a martial artist. Murong Ying's voice rang out. The martial emperor turned his head in shock and saw that Murong Ying was standing behind him. And you are like a magician. With that said, Murong Ying's sword had already pierced through Liao Ju's shoulder. Good, good, good. Liao Ju suddenly laughed out loud, as if he did not take the sword wound that Murong Ying gave him to heart at all. You are all not bad. Murong Ying had a bad feeling. And at this moment, the divine dragon in the sky suddenly disappeared, and a golden light shone from Liao Ju's body, as if he was wearing a dragon armor. Murong Ying wanted to pull out and leave, but the martial emperor suddenly extended his palm that was covered in golden light and directly grabbed onto Murong Ying's neck. The current martial emperor was more like a light form of draconic man number 9. However, number 9's dragon body was real, while the dragon on the martial emperor's body was condensed from golden light. Releasing energy, I have lost the ability to fight. The martial emperor sneered, you guys are underestimating me too much. As long as I compress this energy into my body, with my battle experience, I will still be able to unleash my martial skills. As he spoke, the martial emperor's other hand suddenly slapped out. A yellow emperor riding dragon, accompanied by a dragon's roar, immediately sent Murong Ying flying. Chapter 1638. Murong Ying's body fell out of the arena, but she directly inserted her sword into the arena and stabilized her body. The title of martial emperor is not for nothing. Li Fan couldn't help but stand up as he nervously looked at Murong Ying, who is in the arena, afraid that she would be in danger. After learning this kind of fighting method, I'm afraid that the martial emperor will no longer have any weakness. Li Fan could feel that the martial emperor's method of turning the divine dragon into dragon armor and draping it over his body should not be something that he could create himself. Perhaps, he had also inherited some spiritual beast possession method from the Azure Dragon Soul. If that's the case, the martial emperor's strength would probably go up another level. I take back my words. The martial emperor crooked his hand towards Murong Ying. You can display your dual sword technique to your heart's content and let me see your true strength. Alright. Murong Ying pulled out her sword and looked at the martial emperor. After all, what you practice is not martial arts but the so-called immortal technique. Since that's the case, using the yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword to deal with you is just right. As she spoke, Murong Ying once again summoned her dragon sword. With both swords in her hands, her entire aura changed. Behind Murong Ying, a dragon and a phoenix's aura faintly appeared and occupied the sky above the venue. Dragon and phoenix's power. You woman, is indeed not simple. The martial emperor praised, this kind of talent is suitable to be the mistress of my harem. Sorry, I have a husband. Murong Ying threw down this sentence and her body suddenly disappeared. But this time, the martial emperor stretched out his hands and directly grabbed the two swords that Murong Ying slashed down from the void. A powerful force protected his body, making the swords unable to enter even half a millimeter. It's useless, your sword technique is indeed powerful but I am stronger. As the martial emperor spoke, he suddenly swung his golden tail and whipped Murong Ying's body. Murong Ying was sent flying again. This time, even the yin-yang dragon phoenix sword was ineffective. However, Murong Ying's body disappeared in the air, and another Murong Ying appeared behind the martial emperor, her cheongsam and long black hair swaying gently together. A crack appeared on the dragon armor on the martial monarch's shoulder. He was also a little surprised. We still underestimated you. The moment you were sent flying, did you already use Qin Gong to teleport? The martial emperor clapped his hands and praised, as expected of the leading figures of the martial arts world for several generations. The strength of the Murong family is indeed very strong. If that kid Murong Bo was still alive, he would also feel gratified for you. Cut the crap. Watch my sword. Murong Ying used the dragon and phoenix yin yang sword, and directly arrived in front of the martial emperor. He didn't see her move, but the martial emperor dodged several times in a row. Did he feel the pressure from Guild Master Murong? A martial monarch is dodging continuously. The host couldn't help but ask. It's just that you didn't see it. Ordinary people can't see it. Jiang Feng explained, just a moment ago, Murong Ying stabbed out a few times, but the martial monarch dodged them. It's so fast that you can't see it clearly. Let's replay it in slow motion on the big screen. The movements of the two people on the big screen were slowed down. This was already captured by a dynamic camera, but the speed of Murong Ying's sword was still somewhat unclear. They could only vaguely see some indistinct shadows. Oh my god, Alliance Master Murong's sword is too fast, even the dynamic camera can't capture it. This is a scene that can even capture the speed of a 500 km/h bullet train. Could it be that Alliance Master Murong's sword is even faster than the bullet train? This is the sword that belongs to Murong Ying. Jiang Feng had already understood the mystery behind it. Murong Ying had infused the sword qi into the hilt of the sword, detonating the sword qi to instantly increase the speed of the sword. Instead of stabbing the sword, it's more like firing a gun. Ah! There's actually such a technique? That's right, it's a technique that only belongs to Murong Ying. Only their Murong family's sword qi can do this. So that's how it is. It seems like the pressure on the martial monarch will be greater. Is it him? From the looks of it, such a powerful sword was still unable to do anything to him. This person. Too strong, Jiang Feng could feel the power of the martial monarch in his heart. This enemy, he had to join hands with Li Fan in order to defeat him. If he wanted to defeat him now, it seemed that he would have to find Li Fan to join hands. Unwilling, truly unwilling. If you and Li Fan were to join hands and use the yin-yang dragon phoenix sword, I might really find it troublesome. As the martial monarch dodged the explosive sword, he said, "It's a pity that you're the only one. You can't do it." Is that so? As Murong Ying spoke, a similar Murong Ying suddenly appeared behind the martial monarch. The two of them, one using the Dragon Yang sword technique, the other using the Yin Phoenix sword technique, simultaneously attacked the martial monarch. Doppelganger? The martial monarch was shocked once again. Other than Li Fan, Murong Ying had also researched doppelganger. Furthermore, her doppelganger had the ability to do two things at the same time. It was probably even more terrifying than Li Fan's doppelganger. As expected, after using the yin-yang dragon phoenix sword technique together, the two Murong Ying finally made the martial monarch feel that it was difficult to deal with. A sword technique that could even kill an immortal. This was no joke. Even so, it can only be used to the first level. Li Fan crossed his arms as he watched this scene, but still sighed. The strongest part of the yin-yang dragon phoenix sword technique was that through the degree of love between the two, it could deepen the bond of the soul. Only then could one successfully use the second and third level of the yin-yang dragon phoenix sword technique. Just being able to use the yin-yang dragon phoenix sword technique at the roaming dragon and phoenix level was not enough to contend against the current martial monarch. No matter how powerful Murong Ying was, it was impossible for her to fall in love with her other self. Unless she was especially abnormal. That's right. But this is the end. The martial monarch suddenly stomped his foot, and a huge force immediately spread out, attacking the surroundings, lifting up the surrounding floor, and also blowing Murong Ying away. Murong-ing, you should be proud that you can force us to this extent. The martial monarch's body suddenly caught up to Murong-ing, and with a palm strike, he smashed Murong-ying's body heavily into the ground. Die with your pride. The martial monarch continued to attack, and the explosive power crazily landed on Murong-ying's body. Murong-ing laid there, barely able to block a few attacks with her sword, but in the end, she was unable to block the martial monarch's powerful strength. In the end, the sword was shattered, and she took a few of the martial monarch's palms. It's about time. The martial monarch retracted his palm, took a few steps back, and said arrogantly, "You have already lost, Murong-ing, let your man come." No need. Murong-ing, who was covered in injuries, slowly stood up and once again summoned her sword. Still not admitting defeat? In the dictionary of the Murong family, there is no such thing as defeat. Chapter 1639. Murong-ing raised the long sword in her hand and pointed it at the martial emperor. In the dictionary of the Murong family, there is no such thing as lose. She gathered all of the internal energy in her body onto the sword, and the sword immediately emitted a dazzling white light, like a bright lamp, emitting an intense radiance. However, the martial emperor stood there and did not make a move. After a second, the radiance on Murong-ying's sword disappeared. She stood there, unconscious. After so many beatings, she was already on the verge of death. It was already not easy for her to hold on until now. What a pity, Alliance Master Murong still lost, but even though she lost, it was still an honorable defeat. The host said regretfully, "Next, let us rest for a while, and then proceed to the finals." No need. Li Fan's voice suddenly sounded. He had already descended from the sky. With a flip, he landed on the stage. The powerful force caused the ground to tremble, and Murong-ying's body was also shaken up, before being carried by Li Fan. "You came to protect your own woman in such a hurry?" The martial emperor laughed, the golden light behind him fluctuated, and the dragon head seemed to be roaring. "Aya, contestant Li is already impatient to go on stage, looks like the finals are going to start early." The host looked at the scene below and said, "Contestant Li has carried Alliance Master Murong, it's really enviable." He handed Alliance Master Murong over to the medical staff at the side. "Let us pray for Alliance Master Murong's health." Now that things had come to this, the host was more than willing to address Murong-ing as Alliance leader. After all, Murong-ing had already used her strength to conquer the audience. Even the sect leaders of the 6 major sects were speechless. The current Murong-ing, compared to the last martial arts assembly, was many times stronger. This woman was indeed very strong, there was no doubt about it. "Martial Emperor, are you satisfied to see me?" As Li Fan spoke, a few blue lightning bolts appeared from his body, circling around his body. "Satisfied." The martial emperor nodded. "You are the most capable martial artist I have ever seen." As he spoke, he suddenly sent a telepathic message to Li Fan. "If you are willing to be my right-hand man, I can defeat the realm beyond heaven with you. After that, this emperor will rule this world, and you can also become second only to me, and above all others." "Forget it." However, Li Fan directly rejected the martial monarch's invitation. "Cooperating with you is no different from asking a tiger for its skin. Your ambition is no less than the realm beyond heavens." "I am the chosen one," the martial emperor said with a smile. "Moreover, we won't take the lives of humans. If you don't agree, I can only choose the second option, which is to cooperate with the realm beyond heaven." "Ridiculous." Li Fan ridiculed him. "Haven't you already become a lackey of the realm beyond heaven?" Stupid provocation. However, the martial emperor sneered. "We have the mandate of heaven. In the end, the sky beyond heaven will be trampled under our feet." "That's why I said, you're really scary." Li Fan could not help but shake his head. This fellow, the martial monarch, should be eliminated as soon as possible. The more he lived, the more pressure he would feel. "Since you are not willing to be my right-hand man, then I can only get rid of you first, and then carry out the human extermination plan of the realm beyond heaven." The martial monarch decided the fate of the human race while talking and laughing. That's right, this emperor has made an agreement with the realm beyond heaven. After the human race is exterminated, this emperor can establish a kingdom with millions of people. At that time, this emperor will cripple all of your women's martial arts, bring them over, and raise them in this emperor's harem. Hee hee, you have a good eye, the women you choose are all good. Martial monarch, you're courting death. When Li Fan heard this, the blood in his body started to flow in reverse. The martial monarch must die. Come, let this emperor see your current abilities. The martial monarch laughed, let's fight. However, the audience outside could not hear a single word of the conversation between the two of them. The martial monarch did not wear a microphone at all, and this time, Li Fan did not bring one either. Furthermore, he had used his inner force to construct a barrier around the two of them, blocking their conversation so as to prevent it from being heard by a third party. If the audience were to hear these things, it would definitely cause unnecessary panic. Bam! The martial monarch's body was wrapped in a golden dragon armor. In an instant, he used the yellow emperor's dragon and slapped towards Li Fan. The sudden palm strike was directly kicked away by Li Fan. The martial monarch continued to make his move. With the addition of the dragon armor, the 5 emperor's palm was fully displayed by him. As for Li Fan, he relied on a set of leg techniques to accurately kick away the martial monarch's attacks time and time again. At the same time, he also tried to attack the martial monarch, but he was also repelled by the martial monarch's other palm. The two of them entered a beautiful battle of offense and defense. Both of their moves were exquisite and perfect, and it was difficult to find any flaws or loopholes. Wow, as expected of the two people who entered the finals. They are both too strong. The host was dazzled by what he saw. He felt that the battle between the two of them was filled with dangerous energy. Every move looked simple, but they were filled with the pressure of death. The two of them are both top experts. Jiang Feng's eyes did not blink at all, afraid that he would miss any crucial point. The battle between the two of them reached a small climax. The places where their fists and feet collided continuously emitted explosive sounds. And Li Fan finally started to use his big move. He suddenly roared, and the sound wave instantly exploded out, causing the martial monarch's body to freeze for a moment. War Dragon's Roar. While the martial monarch was in a daze, Li Fan directly closed in and used a set of leg techniques from the dragon subduing platform. He kicked the martial monarch's body into the air and continuously kicked it. The martial monarch's body did not fall for a long time. Angrily behead the third prince. Li Fan's last kick directly kicked the martial monarch into the ground. Even if it was a truck, Li Fan was confident that he could kick it in half. However, the martial monarch's body was even sturdier than a truck. The powerful immortal power formed a perfect defense around his body. Even though Li Fan's attack was so powerful, it was still blocked. However, Li Fan had grasped the penetrating force. Although the martial monarch was not kicked in half by Li Fan, he still suffered a certain degree of injury. The martial monarch laid on the ground, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. It was obvious that he had suffered some internal injuries. You actually injured me. The martial monarch's eyes were about to burst into flames. The golden dragon floating on his body also let out a series of roars, as though it had erupted with power along with the martial monarch's anger. So what? Li Fan looked at the martial monarch coldly, is that all your strength? We have not used our true abilities yet. The martial monarch realized that his 5 emperors' palm was not as exquisite as Li Fan's. This caused him to be very shocked. However, he possessed absolute power. He cultivated the true immortal art that the immortals had learned. Chapter 1640. I will let you see what a real true immortal art is. As the martial emperor speaks, the golden light on his body seems to be burning. Reincarnated golden immortal. The golden light on the martial emperor's body suddenly retracts back into his body. At the same time, the sky is once again filled with dark clouds, just like when Liang Ru used her ultimate move. And Jade, who is standing in the participant seating, seeing this scene, her expression starts to panic. This guy, he actually trained to the strength of a heavenly immortal? What is the difference between a heavenly immortal and a lower immortal? Not to mention the difference in strength of 10 times, heavenly immortals are experts with a real, Dharma body. They can retract their immortal force back into their body and train a Dharma body to fight. This martial emperor, actually trained to this level in such a short period of time. Fortunately, the true immortal art that he learned is flawed, otherwise, he might really be able to train to the strength of a heavenly immortal in the future. This person is too scary. Li Fan looks at the martial emperor continuously changing. The martial emperor's body continues to expand. It is very similar to his own alien bone changing, but it is different. If it is alien bone changing, at most it will change his body shape, at most it will expand his body to 2 meters tall. After all, Li Fan's muscles and bones are limited, it is impossible for him to infinitely grow and mutate. The martial emperor did it. In almost a blink of an eye, the martial emperor's body expanded to a height of 4 meters, like a small giant, standing in front of Li Fan. His body carries a powerful force. That kind of oppressive feeling is also transmitted into Li Fan's heart. Do you see? This is the difference between me and you mortals. The martial emperor can only rely on a secret technique to temporarily reveal his Dharma body, to show off his might. But he is still incomparably arrogant, looking down on Li Fan, and said mockingly, "Now, how are you going to fight against me? Then let's try." Li Fan is also not someone who is easily defeated. He leaps up and charges towards the huge martial emperor. Li Fan's body is in the air, he swings his leg and descends from the sky, chopping towards the martial emperor. But the martial emperor raises his hand and directly sends Li Fan flying with a palm. Boom! Li Fan's body smashed into the ground, creating a crater. Oh my god, contestant Liao actually turned into a 4-meter-tall giant. Is this also martial arts? The host threw the question to Jiang Feng. The veins on Jiang Feng's forehead were throbbing. Motherfucker, the martial emperor was still hiding something. Moreover, he had taken out such a skill, how could he play dumb for him? It's also a type of inner force. Jiang Feng started to spout nonsense, using inner force to activate the cells in the human body, temporarily making the body bigger. So that's how it is. Does that mean that my combat power has also greatly increased? Yes. Jiang Feng frowned. At least, 10 times stronger, there's actually such a kung fu. Amazing. Impressive indeed, Jiang Feng thought to himself. Even if I use Dragon God's possession, my body can only be strengthened by 3 or 4 times. But this martial emperor can strengthen my strength by 10 times. This is too abnormal. Weak. The martial emperor's voice was like a great bell, breaking through Li Fan's soundproof cover and shaking the entire arena. Everyone could not help but cover their ears. The eardrums were being shaken to the point that it was too painful. Their eardrums felt like they were about to tear. Even their heads were hurting. At this time, Li Fan stood up from the pit. Just as he was about to counterattack, the martial emperor stepped over and stomped Li Fan's body back into the ground. Dragon Spitting Pearl. When Li Fan was trampled under the martial emperor's foot, he immediately stretched out his right hand and shot out a ball of white chi bead towards the martial emperor's cheek. However, the martial emperor only blew a breath of air and blew the chi bead away. It smashed onto the ground beside him and blasted a deep pit in the ground. Compared to the martial emperor's current strength, Li Fan seemed incomparably small. It's over. Could it be that Li Fan is going to lose? The holy maiden stood in the contestant seating area, nervously watching the battle on the stage. Her heart was on tenterhooks. Once Li Fan lost, all her plans would be lost. As long as she helped the sect leader obtain the true immortal art, the sect leader would not make a move against Li Fan. Today's competition, Li Fan must win. Shouldn't she help him think of a way? But at this time, a circle of lightning suddenly exploded from the martial emperor's feet. He was forced to take a few steps back, while Li Fan slowly stood up. His height had also increased to 3 meters, and his body was covered in lightning. His skin was glowing, as if he had a Dharma body. Heavenly Thunder Transformation. In order to deal with the martial emperor's Dharma body, Li Fan had no choice but to use this move of his in advance. You also have a Dharma body. The martial emperor was still a little surprised. Li Fan had actually cultivated a Dharma body. Impossible, he did not learn the true immortal art, nor did he have immortal energy. How did he cultivate a Dharma body? Impossible. Li Fan's body suddenly moved, he stepped forward and directly kicked, bringing with it a ray of lightning. It kicked the martial emperor's face. The martial emperor wanted to block, but he realized that his speed was not as fast as Li Fan's. Before he could even extend his hand, he was kicked in the face by Li Fan. Pfft! The martial emperor was kicked until he slid 2 meters away. Only when he stepped on the ground did he stabilize his body. And Li Fan had already landed in front of him. Following that, with a flying dragon slapping tiger, his leg descended from the sky and kicked towards the martial emperor. White Emperor holds the sky. The martial emperor raised both of his palms and collided with Li Fan's leg. Bam! A huge wave of air exploded out, and a crater appeared on the ground where the two of them were standing. What a terrifying power! The host was on the verge of collapse. Was this still a battle between humans? At this time, Li Fan's leg technique was like a god. His legs seemed to have gathered all the strength in his body, vigorous and powerful. Time and time again, he kicked out with the power of a missile, straight towards the martial emperor. Moreover, the most terrifying thing about Li Fan was the thrusting leg that he had learned from Murong Ying's thrusting sword. He used the dragon subduing sword technique with his leg technique, using his leg to kick out the white dragon steel's heart. His speed was extremely fast. The martial emperor could dodge Murong Ying's thrusting sword, but he couldn't dodge Li Fan's thrusting leg. Bang, bang, bang. The martial emperor was kicked in the chest several times, causing him to retreat a few steps. He really couldn't understand. This fellow, Li Fan, seemed to be proficient in all kinds of martial arts. In the past, his most powerful technique was his palm technique. With a set of black dragon ice palm, he swept through the martial arts world and even defeated his 5 emperors' palm. Later on, he used the superb dragon subduing sword, as well as the dragon and phoenix yin-yang sword of subduing dragon and tiger, and even the 9-tailed divine fox was subdued. And now, he had put down his sword technique and switched to this set of leg technique, and had once again forced him to retreat. I am the strongest. As the martial emperor spoke, he suddenly stretched out his hand and pushed towards Li Fan in the air. Big phaseless technique. Li Fan's body was pushed backwards, and then the martial emperor suddenly appeared behind Li Fan. He opened his palms, and with the momentum of his 2 peaks piercing through his ears, he fiercely slapped Li Fan's temples. Black Emperor subduing demon. Chapter 1641. If this move were to land, even if Li Fan didn't die, he would be beaten into a fool. However, Li Fan used the 1,000-kilogram drop and forcefully fell down. He directly landed on the ground, dodging the martial monarch's palms. Dong! Like the sound of a bell, the martial monarch's palms clapped together, exploding out a strong shockwave that spread out in all directions. Li Fan took the opportunity to use his hands to support himself on the ground, and kicked his legs backwards, directly towards the martial monarch above his head. The martial monarch was directly kicked, his 4-meter-tall body flew backwards, flew more than a meter high, and then landed on the ground. Dragon's teeth. Li Fan supported himself with both hands on the ground, and continued to kick the martial monarch continuously. Bang! Bang! The air continuously emitted explosive sounds, and the martial monarch's body was kicked until he continuously jumped up, unable to land. Li Fan consecutively kicked dozens of times, and the martial monarch finally regained control of his center of gravity. He immediately struck out with his palm, aiming towards Li Fan. With another heavy sound, a huge pit with a palm print appeared on the ground, and Li Fan was lying on the ground. This attack was not weak at all, and Li Fan felt as if all the bones in his body were about to shatter. However, the martial monarch was not feeling well either. After he landed, he took 2 steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. The two of them fought for a long time, but it seemed like they were still evenly matched. However, the two of them had almost used up all of their energy, so the martial monarch did not dare to delay any longer. He immediately raised his palm and poured all of his energy into it. 9 Dragons Divine Palm. The martial monarch roared, and a golden dragon once again rose up from his back. The golden dragon opened its mouth wide, and the martial monarch stood inside. Both of his palms pushed out a golden shockwave. This shockwave seemed to want to shatter the entire world, and it smashed towards Li Fan. However, Li Fan did not retreat. He stood there, took a step forward, and stepped on the ground. At the same time, his right fist punched out from his waist, and he also used his strongest move. Lightning Supreme Dragon Fist. A bolt of lightning streaked across the sky, and the huge shockwave from the martial monarch was actually pierced through by this punch. His lower abdomen was imprinted with a fist imprint of lightning. His entire body slid out, and the dragon head on his back also vanished. Li Fan, on the other hand, was also affected by the aftershock of the shockwave. His body was thrown more than 10 meters away and he fell on the edge of the arena. The martial emperor stood there, his chest suddenly split open, the power contained in the fist still pierced through his lower abdomen. However, the martial emperor had already cultivated the true immortal art. His physical body was strong, and even though his lower abdomen was pierced, he did not die. However, he temporarily lost the ability to fight and fainted on the stage. A group of medical staff hurriedly came up and helped the martial emperor down, checking his injuries. Li Fan stood tall in the arena. Obviously, he was the final victor. The lightning on his body gradually disappeared, and his body gradually returned to its original appearance. In his ears, he could faintly hear the host cheering for him. "You won, Alliance Chief." A gray-robed elder from the Sky Martial Pavilion walked over and handed a simple and unadorned wooden box to Li Fan. "This is your prize." "Many thanks." Li Fan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. After going through a huge battle, he was indeed a little tired. However, he still won the final victory of the competition. The Alliance Chief of the Martial Arts Circle was secondary. What he wanted was the 3rd page of the true immortal art. He opened the wooden box and looked at the true immortal art inside. It seemed to be real. "Everyone, I can't be the Alliance Chief of the Martial Arts Circle. Therefore, the position of Alliance Chief should be given to the previous Murong Ying. She has more experience than me." Li Fan announced this matter loudly. Furthermore, the martial monarch's technique is no longer considered a martial art. Therefore, his victory over Murong Ying does not count. The people from the 6 great sects were somewhat surprised. Why did this person give up the position of Alliance Chief? That's right, he only wanted that true immortal art. With this, would he still need to worry about not being able to rule the martial arts circle? So what if he was the Alliance Chief? After learning the true immortal art, he would become as strong as a martial monarch. That's right, this man is actually as strong as a martial monarch. Could it be? The audience had already left the stage. Wang Zhini suddenly stood up and pointed at Li Fan and said, "What, Li Yun? I think you are Li Fan, right? Hee, you did not let us obtain the true immortal art because you do not want us to become as strong as the two of you, right? Sinister 7 Knights Villa, you really did cultivate the true immortal art." A group of people from the martial arts circle began to reprimand Li Fan. As for Li Fan, he was too lazy to use the appearance-changing technique. He returned to his original appearance and stood on the already messy stage. "You are an overseas martial artist, not a Chinese martial artist. We have no way to acknowledge you." Long Fangyu, who is also standing on the viewing platform, led the crowd and loudly said, "Today, all the martial arts circle people are here. We must seek justice for the Chinese martial artists. Li Fan, seeing that you were once a Chinese martial artist, we can give you a chance. As long as you hand over the true immortal art, we can let you go. That's right, the true immortal art belongs to our Chinese martial arts circle. Quickly hand it over. A Mei sect leader Yu Ruoying finally found an opportunity. She immediately pointed at Li Fan and shouted, hand over the 2 pages of the true immortal art in your hands. Who does not want to be as strong as a martial monarch? Who does not want to live forever? You want the true immortal art? Li Fan did not want to talk nonsense with these people. He raised the wooden box in his hand and said, ask for it in your dreams. With that, he crushed the wooden box and used his internal force to turn the scroll into nothingness. No. A lot of martial artists wailed, but Wang Zhini pointed at Li Fan and reminded everyone, don't be afraid, he must have memorized it. Li Fan is the living true immortal art. Capture him and make him recite the true immortal art for us. That's right, capture Li Fan. Make him hand over the true immortal art. Everyone said in unison. Oh, no, are you all crazy? Teresa could not help but stand up from the viewing platform and shouted at the martial artists, he is the champion, he has the right to deal with his prize. Barbarian woman, when did you have the right to speak here? Did you see that? This guy really joined hands with the barbarians. He wants to spread our Chinese immortal art abroad. This person is our Chinese martial arts circle's traitor. Everyone's shouts became more and more unpleasant. Teresa was somewhat dumbfounded. Could it be that she came out to speak for Li Fan out of kindness, but in the end, she did something wrong? What are they doing? Windsor could not stand it anymore. She also wanted to speak up for Li Fan, but she was stopped by number 9. Don't worry about it. Why? You are a hero, don't tell me you don't care about this kind of thing. I am not their hero. Number 9 said bluntly, these people do not need a hero. What they need is a devil. Chapter 1642. These people have already lost their faith. All they want is endless madness. Number 9 crosses her arms. She doesn't want to care about this matter. This is the Chinese's own battle. They don't like outsiders interfering. You really don't care. Windsor is a little unhappy. Justice knows no boundaries. Do you think there is justice here today? Number 9 already knows a lot about human affairs. Among them, no one is justice. Even that Li Fan, aka Li Yun, has his own plans. If he really wanted to settle this matter, wouldn't it be better to just hand over his cultivation method? Greed is his original sin. Number 9 doesn't understand Li Fan. Li Fan doesn't need others to understand him. Hee, you're just a defeated opponent. You want to challenge me? Li Fan stretches his muscles. While speaking, he has already secretly taken a few rejuvenation pills, allowing his body to recover a little. At this time, Jiang Feng stands up from the high platform. With a leap, he lands in front of Li Fan. Villa Master Li, you are my third brother. I shouldn't help you in this matter today. But since this is a matter of the Jianghu, as the commander of the royal guards, I have the responsibility of a commander. You have already left the Chinese Jianghu. So, you really can't take the true immortal cultivation method away. But I don't want to see the Jianghu, which has finally calmed down, to be filled with blood again. Why don't everyone give me face today? You write down the 2 pages of the true immortal cultivation method and give it to me. I will pass it on to the heads of the various sections. Then, they will spread it so that all the martial artists in China can practice this powerful cultivation method. What do you think? Good. Commander Jiang's method is peaceful. I like it. Support Commander Jiang. Li Fan, look at your sworn brother. He's so righteous. Look at you. You're too selfish. Bah. Everyone starts to support Jiang Feng. They look like they can't wait to snatch Li Fan away. My good second brother, you really know how to conduct yourself. Li Fan chuckled. Trying to gain something without risking anything. Do you think you can get the true immortal art just by talking? What's wrong, third brother? Are you reluctant? That's all I have to say today. The true immortal art sounds pretty good. If you cultivate it, you'll become an immortal. However, there was a major flaw in this technique. Once it was cultivated, one would be under the control of the sky beyond heaven. Why do you think a martial emperor can practice this set of martial arts? It was because he had become a lackey of the realm beyond Avalon. What's wrong? You guys don't want to be martial arts experts, but also want to learn from martial emperors and become lackeys for others? Li Fan, cut the crap. Yu Ruoying pointed at Li Fan and scolded, you trained yourself and became so strong. In order to stop us from practicing, you made up such a story that even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe. Li Fan, do you really take us for fools? How should I put this? Li Fan blinked his eyes, from what I see, you guys really don't seem to be that smart. Cut the crap. If you don't hand over the true immortal art, don't even think about leaving. That's right, don't even think about going anywhere. A group of martial artists surrounded Li Fan. Everyone glared at Li Fan like a tiger watching its prey. Everyone, don't be impulsive. Li Fan is after all a government agent and can be considered as my colleague. Let me persuade him first. Jiang Feng is pretending to be a good person again. Jiang Feng was pretending to be a good person again. At this time, Niu Shuyan, who was covered in bandages, limped out, pointed at Li Fan and shouted. Everyone, don't be afraid. Li Fan has disobeyed the order and has been expelled from the government. He is now a wanted criminal by the government. Let us arrest this traitor. Look, even the government can't tolerate your evil deeds. Long Fengyu added oil to the fire at this time, Villa Masterly, although I have received your protection before and really want to help you. However, a just cause enjoys abundant support while an unjust cause finds little. What you're doing right now isn't flattering at all. Even if I want to help you, I can't let down my conscience. Interesting. You still have a conscience? Li Fan laughed. I want to see who dares to touch a single hair of his. Luo Xuewu brought a few of Yi Sword's cadres and stood behind Li Fan. This extraordinary woman said loudly, if anyone dares to touch him, Yi Sword will not rest until he is dead. Alliance leader Luo, why are you also involved in this mess? That's right, Alliance leader Luo, don't be foolish. Did Li Fan deceive you with some words? Everyone said. Alliance leader Luo, you and I can be considered to be from the same sect. Long Fengyu sighed again and said regretfully, I never thought that you would actually stand up for this person today. You are muddle-headed, so muddle-headed. Fuck off, I don't need you to fart. Jean Kyumo fiercely glared at Long Fengyu. She hated this person to death. What a hypocritical villain. Ungrateful. Xiao Wu, I appreciate your intentions. Seeing Luo Xuewu and the others swear to advance and retreat together with Li Fan felt a little warmth in his heart. However, there were too many martial arts practitioners in front of him. Li Fan did not want Luo Xuewu and the others to suffer losses. But today, it's a matter between me and these people. Let me handle it. No, if I don't help you, how can I, Luo Xuewu, call for help? Luo Xuewu said resolutely. She raised her sword high, and her voice grew louder. I declare that from today onwards, Yi Jian and 7 Chivalry Villa will form an alliance. If you do that, you will become the enemy of the government. Niu Shuyan looked coldly at Luo Xuewu and threatened, Alliance leader Luo, do you dare? Why wouldn't I dare? Luo Xuewu snorted, but Li Fan stopped her and curled his lips at Niu Shuyan. Little friend, who do you think you are? Can you represent the government? The country wants stability and peace, but you're playing the office of strategic deception and casually convicting people in your own name. What, is it so great to have a relative from the headquarters? Is he the king? Li Fan, don't talk nonsense with him. At worst, I'll move to Li Family Island with everyone from Yi Jian. Luo Xuewu seemed to have finally made up her mind. Anyway, I've had enough of this bullshit martial arts world. The current martial arts world made Luo Xuewu nauseous. In that case, she might as well follow Li Fan. Yes, we're willing to move to Li Family Island. Life is the same everywhere. It's good to go out and have a look. Yi Jian and the others all shouted, and none of them looked embarrassed. Thank you, everyone, Li Fan was really touched. Yi Jian and Xiao Qingfeng were all elites, and it was a good thing that they were willing to join 7 Chivalry Villa. After all, Li Fan couldn't rely on himself to deal with grandmasters in the future. It seems that if we don't shed some blood today, we won't be able to solve the problem. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan helplessly. Third brother, why are you always so extreme? Must you set off a reign of terror in the martial arts world again? Chapter 1643. Hearing Jiang Feng's question, Li Fan laughed out loud. You're really interesting. Stop pretending. If you want to fight, then fight. Do you think that I, Li Fan, am afraid of you? With that, he waved his hand. Brothers of Sword, I'm very happy that you've helped me. However, please take a rest first and be my witness. Let's see if my title as the champion is well deserved. With that, Li Fan gathered his internal energy. The rubble around him flew up into the air, and arcs of lightning swam in the air, crackling. Li Fan, you really want to be the enemy of everyone in the world. Jiang Feng looked very pained, but he had a cold smile on his face. Everything was going according to his plan. As long as everyone wanted to deal with Li Fan, then Li Fan would have no chance to make a comeback. Since you've made up your mind, then I won't care about our brotherhood. Listen to my order, surround the arena. Don't let anyone who supports the rebel Li Fan escape. Yes. Around the arena, royal guards immediately stood up. Each of them held a pistol in their left hand and a long blade in their right. After Jiang Feng took control of the royal guards, he made them practice the doctrine of demon resistance and the imperial demon divine blade to increase their ability to fight together. That was not all. At the same time, they were all equipped with the set of anti-wuxia weapons developed by China. The pistols in their hands were made with this technology. The bullets they shot could directly penetrate the protective chi of martial artists. Under Jiang Feng's order, everyone pointed their pistols at Li Fan and the people of Sword Alliance. It seemed like they were preparing to start a war of annihilation. Look at you. Before you die, you still want to drag some people down. Jiang Feng pointed at Luo Xuewu and the others and continued to provoke Li Fan. Commander Jiang, that's not right. Night Rain Tower's legs had already healed. He stood there with his hands in his sleeves and replied to Jiang Feng with a smile, we are willing to live and die with Villa Masterly. After all, things like betraying one's friends and biting one's benefactors in the teeth, you guys can do it, but we, the Sword, can't. In our alliance, betraying a friend is the #1 felony. What a good battle Commander Yi, you sure have a sharp tongue. Jiang Feng's gaze landed on Night Rain Tower with some admiration. Everyone says that Commander Yi has a good command of his troops. If you can really make it to the Li Family Island alive, it will add a lot of strength to the Li Family Island. Unfortunately, all of you will be executed here. Really, it hurts my heart. Not bad, not bad. Night Rain Tower laughed even more happily. Fortunately, you, Commander Jiang, aren't a beautiful woman. You're heartbroken, but I don't need to have tender feelings for you. Yes, pain can make a man grow up. Zhan Xiaotian waved his only arm and laughed. Commander Jiang, congratulations on growing up. I'm not afraid of pain. The silly Guomingming also grinned. I'm afraid of being hungry. Brothers of the Sword laughing breeze, let these Jianghu friends see our righteousness. Luo Xuewu raised her sword high. The surrounding dozen or so people of the Sword Alliance all took out their weapons and prepared to fight with Li Fan. Li Fan, I'll ask you one last time. Jiang Feng also gathered his internal energy, and the black Shura Qi revolved around his body. He had also entered the Black Emperor state, and his voice was like a bell. Do you really want to start a war with China's Jianghu? Come. Li Fan also let go. Who's afraid of who? Good. Jiang Feng roared, "Kill without mercy." Just as his voice fell, a sharp bird cry suddenly came from the sky. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. They saw a white object leaping into the sky. "What is that?" Everyone asked the same question, but in the next second, that thing suddenly exploded. The dazzling white light instantly covered everyone's eyes. Even Li Fan had to close his eyes to relieve the pressure on them. At this time, a voice appeared in his ear, whispering, "Catch me." It was the Saintess. Li Fan knew that she came to pick him up according to the agreement. However, Li Fan refused the Saintess. No matter how anxious the Saintess was, Li Fan still did not move. After 3 or 4 seconds, everyone regained their vision. Jiang Feng crossed his arms and looked at them with a faint smile. Li Fan still stood there, but there was a woman beside him. "It's the Saintess." What a good Li Fan, he actually colluded with the people of the Devil's Sect. What a scum of the Jianghu. The Saintess actually wants to save Li Fan. Fortunately, we are surrounded by people, he can't escape. The Saintess stomped her feet in anger. She had already prepared a secret passage. As long as Li Fan followed her, he could leave from here. Who knew, Li Fan actually did not leave. "Why don't you leave? Bastard!" The Saintess wanted to curse. "My fellow martial artists want to fight with me. Why should I leave?" Li Fan said confidently, "As the villa master of the 7 Knights Villa, I accept everyone's challenge. If you want to leave, then leave. With me here, they won't be able to hurt you." "I won't leave." The Saintess said angrily, "Since you don't want to leave with me, I might as well die with you." "You demon girl, why do you keep talking about death?" Jin Jioma was especially unhappy. He glared at the Saintess, "We won't die. If you want to die, then die by yourself. Little girl, how can you escape in front of a battle?" Zhan Xiaotian also said, "You people of the Devil's Sect are all cowards. You are afraid of death, but we are not. Leave, we are not the same kind of people." Luo Shuawu also said coldly, "All of you are idiots." The Saintess stomped her feet, "Martial arts or life, which is more important?" For martial artists, martial arts is more important than anything else. Li Fan pointed at the martial artists in front of him. "I, the villa master of the 7 Knights Villa, little overlord Li Fan, will declare my rule here. Whoever wants to challenge me, come at me. Today is the life and death arena. If you win, I will die here. If you lose, you can either leave or die." Awesome! Long Bailey was the first to jump out. "Let me, Long Bailey, fight you." As the leader of the Kongtong sect, Long Bailey had lost in the 7 Knights Villa, but today, he must seek justice for the sect and take back the true immortal art. Li Fan was very strong, but so what? There were so many martial arts experts here, and with Jiang Feng here, it was not like he could go to heaven. If Long Bailey fought with him first, he probably wouldn't dare to use his real strength in front of so many people. Roaring Flame Saber. Long Bailey was prepared to give Li Fan a ruthless blow, to let him know fear. A crimson flame appeared in his hand, and like a flaming saber, it descended from the sky, heading straight for Li Fan. But just when he was about to slash Li Fan's head, Li Fan suddenly made his move. Chapter 1644. Long Bailey's flame saber directly leaped towards Li Fan and slashed towards his head. However, Li Fan did not dodge. He just kicked high and hit Long Bailey's chin, kicking Long Bailey up. At the same time, Li Fan followed like a shadow and leaped up. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Long Bailey and then with a kick, like a guillotine, he kicked Long Bailey's neck and directly beheaded him. With a plop, Long Bailey's headless corpse fell to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. As for his head, it rolled a few times on the ground. Long Bailey only felt that the world was spinning and then he saw blood red. Before he died, he only had one thought left. If only he had learned the true immortal art and become an immortal, he might not have died. If only he could continue to live. You actually actually killed sect leader Long. Oh my god, crazy, crazy. Li Fan, you are too arrogant. Everyone turned pale with fright. No one would have thought that Li Fan's attack would be so ruthless. One move and he would take a life. Come, next challenger. Li Fan beckoned with his finger. However, his method had shocked the so-called heroes of Wulin. For a moment, no one dared to step forward. They all thought that by relying on their numbers, they would be able to take advantage of Li Fan. However, they did not think that before they could take advantage, they would first pay with their lives. Yo, Yu Ruoying, sect leader Yu. Li Fan's gaze fell on Yu Ruoying. Weren't you very happy just now? Why don't you come and fight with me, how about it? I don't want to fight with you. Yu Ruoying naturally knew her own strength. She immediately turned her head and ignored Li Fan's provocation. If she went up, she would probably be beheaded in one move. Everyone, don't be afraid. I am here. Jiang Feng sensed everyone's fear. He immediately took 2 steps forward, looked at Li Fan, and said, "Third brother, as you can see, these friends in the martial arts world are afraid of you. Don't you hate people like martial emperors the most? But what's the difference between you and him now?" Jiang Feng, don't give me that. Li Fan pointed at Jiang Feng. If you want to fight, let's fight. Of course I'll fight you. Don't worry. Jiang Feng nodded. I'm also a martial fighter, so I naturally respect the traditions of our martial fighters. Let's have a match. Even if my martial arts might not be as good as yours, for the sake of the world's heroes, for the sake of our martial arts world's justice, I will fight with you. You're really a righteous person. Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. Alright, put away that face of yours, it looks disgusting. Come, let me see how your practice of the 5 Emperors' divine palms has progressed. Alright, since you insist on doing things your own way, then I can only make my move. Jiang Feng held a folding fan in one hand, while the other hand was behind his back. He quickly crossed the distance of over 10 meters and arrived in front of Li Fan. The folding fan in his hand was like a short stick as it pierced towards Li Fan's acupoint. Pa! Li Fan moved his body to the side, dodging Jiang Feng's folding fan. At the same time, he swept his leg out like a long whip, fiercely striking at Jiang Feng's waist. Jiang Feng pressed his folding fan down, blocking his waist, blocking Li Fan's attack. However, he was also kicked to the side, but with a flick of his finger, an Azura sword pierced towards the center of Li Fan's eyebrows. Li Fan waved his hand. His palm was like a blade as he deflected the Azura sword chi. The hands were 2 doors, and he relied entirely on his feet to kick people. Li Fan was currently using the Thunder Dragon blade and the Dragon subduing platform at the same time. Together, he had both offense and defense, causing his opponent to be unable to stop. It was the same for Jiang Feng. Although his martial arts were extremely high, he was actually unable to do anything to Li Fan for a moment. Instead, he was being pushed back by Li Fan's moves. Jiang Feng, don't tell me that you only have this little ability. Li Fan mocked. You understand me. Jiang Feng laughed. Naturally, it won't be that simple. With that said, Jiang Feng's body suddenly erupted with a strong black light, and a terrifying pressure pressed down. This was the power of the Black Emperor realm. Jiang Feng's basic strength had also reached the saint level. He then put on a layer of Azura Tiger's state, and his entire body immediately expanded to over 3 meters tall. It was the same as Li Fan's Heavenly Thunder transformation, but the increase in strength was a little weaker. But this was not the end. Jiang Feng opened his hands, and a dragon's roar suddenly came from the dark clouds in the sky. Following that, a golden light descended, piercing through the dark clouds and shining on Li Fan's body. Dragon God Possession. The Dragon God number 1 floating in space used the cosmic energy it had gathered through the nano core to enhance Jiang Feng's body. At this moment, Jiang Feng's strength had completely surpassed the saint level, reaching the strength of an inferior immortal. But an inferior immortal was still not a match for Li Fan. Li Fan himself had already cultivated to the strength of 7 or 8 sages. If he used the heavenly thunder transformation, his strength would be close to that of an exalted immortal. But he had already used the heavenly thunder transformation once today. If he wanted to use it a second time, he would need a long time to recover his strength. Therefore, the current Jiang Feng was really a troublesome opponent for Li Fan. With the strength of 7 sages, it would be a little difficult to deal with Jiang Feng, an expert with the strength of 11 or 12 sages. But this was not a difficult task for Li Fan. He immediately circulated the power of the white tiger and the 9-tailed divine fox, one on each side, and gathered them on his feet. The red divine fox and the white fierce tiger flew out. The divine fox merged into Li Fan's left foot and turned into a scarlet fox-shaped leg armor. And the white tiger merged into his right foot and turned into a platinum fierce tiger leg armor. After Li Fan put on this pair of leg armor, he lifted his left leg and swept it at Jiang Feng. A red light flashed. Jiang Feng was kicked in the chest and immediately slid more than 10 meters away, leaving a trail of white smoke on the ground. Third brother, you really like to surprise people. A sinister light flashed in Jiang Feng's eyes. I didn't expect you to have such a trump card. I usually don't use this kind of technique, but against you, it's better for me to be cautious. Li Fan's feet shot out and his whole body seemed to have teleported, immediately appearing in front of Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng was a little surprised. Li Fan's speed had increased so much again. Jiang Feng immediately flew out with a claw and grabbed at Li Fan's chest. However, Li Fan's thunder dragon blade directly bounced away Jiang Feng's tiger claw. At the same time, he turned his body and exerted strength from his waist, moving his right leg like a heavy hammer, heavily striking Jiang Feng's waist. Jiang Feng's 3-meter-tall body was also whipped into the air and sent spinning, crashing into the spectator stands. Jiang Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. Even though his body had been strengthened several times, he was still injured by this kick. The white tiger leg armor seemed to have some kind of power that could ignore defense. How is it? Li Fan raised his right leg high and looked at Jiang Feng, who was sent flying. Do you still want to fight? Chapter 1645. Li Fan, you are too strong. Jiang Feng wipes the blood from the corner of his mouth and pulls out his body from the wall and lands on the ground again. I am really surprised that there are still you and Muronging in this world. If there are not the two of you, I should be the strongest, right? You, me, Muronging, we all have unique talent. Li Fan says objectively, in terms of talent, the three of us should be equal. But you have too many distracting thoughts and lack perseverance. You are destined to be unable to make great progress in the martial Tao. You really have guts to actually say that my perseverance is insufficient. Jiang Feng sneers, in order to realize my dream, how much have I sacrificed? You actually doubt my perseverance? Your perseverance is destruction. Li Fan says bluntly, and my perseverance is salvation. Murong Ying's perseverance is becoming stronger. Shouldn't destruction be the strongest? Jiang Feng sneered, I will prove to you that I am the strongest. With that, Jiang Feng opens his mouth and takes a deep breath. The surrounding martial fighters immediately feel a chill, following which power involuntarily flows out from their pores and converges in Jiang Feng's direction. As for the saintess and the people of Leaning on the Sword Laughing Breeze, they are like the rest of the martial artists, half kneeling on the ground, their foreheads covered in cold sweat. They are very weak. Only Li Fan, because of the Taiji diagram protecting his meridians, did not let Jiang Feng succeed. This is Vairocana Heart Sutra. Li Fan is shocked, but immediately reacts, no, this is Star Luo Divine Technique. So you obtained power from Murongbo? When I fell into the Azura path, the power of everyone I killed was absorbed by me. Jiang Feng's eyes light up with green light, his entire body is burning with a layer of green flame, his voice also becomes very cold. Today's occasion is the most suitable for me. He he he. With that, Jiang Feng's body also starts to swell, his power is increasing rapidly. Before long, he had the power of at least 20 sages. Although it was still far from the realm of mighty immortals, it was more than enough to deal with Li Fan. Die! Jiang Feng's fingers suddenly shot out, and the Azura sword pierced through Li Fan's chest at lightning speed. Li Fan half knelt down and covered his injured chest. Because of his genes, Li Fan's wounds were slowly healing. What else? Jiang Feng suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan. He extended his claws and unleashed a flurry of attacks at Li Fan. Azura Tiger Claw. This set of attacks left Li Fan's body riddled with scars. In the blink of an eye, he was covered in blood. Jiang Feng struck out with both hands and struck Li Fan's chest, sending Li Fan flying. Li Fan's body smashed into the wall, causing dust to rise. Do you see? This is my power. Jiang Feng roared excitedly. If you were like Emperor Wu and could fight with me at my peak, I would admire you a little. Li Fan's voice came from the smoke. Following that, Li Fan swept his leg, dispersing the smoke. He stood in front of Jiang Feng with a body full of injuries. At the same time, streaks of lightning wandered around his body. Unfortunately, you only know how to play smart and wait for me to exhaust myself, letting Emperor Wu and the others exhaust my battle strength before you dare to fight with me. Li Fan entered the first stage of Heavenly Thunder transformation, doubling his strength. So, you are a good-for-nothing. Li Fan's words infuriated Jiang Feng. Shut up. Jiang Feng suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan, both palms slapping towards Li Fan's temples. Black Emperor subduing demon. Li Fan stretched out both hands and blocked Jiang Feng's palms. At the same time, he kicked forward with both feet, causing Jiang Feng to slide backward. Li Fan's kick had already caused Jiang Feng to stiffen. He then followed up, twisting his waist and unleashing a series of whirlwind kicks with perfect arcs, continuously kicking Jiang Feng's body. Flying Dragon Chasing the Moon. Li Fan used the dragon subduing platform beautifully. This set of leg techniques was almost unparalleled when used by him. He kicked Jiang Feng until he kept retreating, not even giving him time to counterattack. Azure Dragon Water Point 12 consecutive strikes. Li Fan unleashed another 12 stabbing kicks in a row, each strike hitting Jiang Feng's chest. With the Divine Fox strengthening his left leg, Li Fan's speed became even faster. In the blink of an eye, 12 depressions appeared on Jiang Feng's chest. He took a few steps back, clutched his chest, and then knelt on the ground. Even after being strengthened so much, Jiang Feng was still defeated by Li Fan. No. I can't accept this, Jiang Feng muttered to himself. At this moment, a voice rang in his ears. Give me your soul, I want more. That was the voice of Azura. Completely submitting to Azura was tantamount to giving up one's humanity and submitting to Azura. This was a voice that only Jiang Feng, who was one with his heart and demon, could hear. He also knew that this was his last chance. Take it away. Jiang Feng suddenly roared, take it all away. As long as I become stronger. The moment his voice fell, the Azura coat on his body suddenly collapsed. A naked British man stood in the middle of the stage. But very quickly, his skin began to turn black, and red Azura tattoos covered his entire body. A terrifying aura instantly spread out. Quickly take them away. Li Fan sensed that something was wrong. He immediately channeled some inner strength to Saintis and the rest, quickly leave, the further the better. But there were even more martial artists present. Teresa was also on the spectator stand, looking extremely weak. Looking at Windsor in the distance, her face was also pale. Number 9 seemed to be fine. He also sensed that something was wrong. He carried Windsor, turned around and jumped out of the arena. Although the remaining people wanted to kill Li Fan was not willing to let them die here. If these people died, perhaps the Chinese pugilistic world would also be finished. Tai Chi. Expand. Li Fan operated the Tai Chi diagram and spread out his strength instantly. Waves of inner strength spread out and instantly entered the bodies of the surrounding martial artists, giving them the strength to use Qigong. I suddenly have strength. Everyone, quickly run. Everyone felt an unprecedented terror from Jiang Feng. They quickly ran out of the arena. And Saintis did not hesitate, pulling Luo Xuewu and the rest and fled towards the secret passage that had been prepared beforehand. Luo Xuewu did not struggle. She knew that if she stayed now, she would only be a burden to Li Fan. A group of people fled frantically, and Jiang Feng finally opened his eyes. His pupils turned white. And the corner of his mouth hung a somewhat perverted smile. Chapter 1646. Jiang Feng. Li Fan suddenly steps forward and kicks his face. Pa! Li Fan's calf is grabbed by Jiang Feng as he laughs strangely. Ji, can this even be called a kick? It's too weak. With that, Jiang Feng grabs Li Fan's calf and throws him out. Li Fan doesn't have the time to dissipate this force and is directly smashed into the ground at the side, leaving a gully. Aya, there's someone else. Jiang Feng suddenly appears in front of an Ame disciple who is fleeing in panic. That Ame disciple is panicking and quickly stretches out her hand to her sect leader, wanting to ask for help. But Yu Ruoying runs faster than anyone else. This sect leader is displaying their sect's white horse treading on snow martial art to the fullest, almost exceeding his level. He simply doesn't care about his own disciple, and in a blink of an eye, he disappears from the disciple's sight. The disciple collapses, but Jiang Feng is already in front of him. With a stretch of his hand, his claw directly grabs the disciple's skull. Before the disciple can react, she has already been sucked dry and then thrown to the ground. Ah, it's quite delicious. Jiang Feng's smile is even more perverted as he licks his lips. Is there anything more delicious? Oh, there's even a foreign girl. Jiang Feng's gaze falls on the wall. Windsor is lying there, secretly taking pictures with her camera. In a blink of an eye, Jiang Feng has already appeared on the top of the wall, which is dozens of meters high, looking at Windsor in front of him. Get lost. Number 9 suddenly kicks Jiang Feng, but his ankle is grabbed by Jiang Feng again. Aya, there is a person with a strange taste here. But, your energy seems to be quite nutritious. As Jiang Feng speaks, his claw grabs towards Number 9's chest. Number 9's chest is scratched, but he turns into his half-dragon form and directly grabs Jiang Feng's body and throws him back to the stage. And at this moment, Li Fan suddenly appears behind Jiang Feng. He raised his leg high up, and with a dragon-shaped aura, he struck Jiang Feng's lower back. Bang! Jiang Feng was kicked into the auditorium, and one side of the auditorium collapsed from the impact. Not bad. Jiang Feng pushed away the rubble as if nothing had happened and jumped out. This kick is quite strong. Now it's my turn, right? He suddenly let out a wild laugh, then leaped up, his claws constantly clawing at Li Fan. Li Fan used the dragon subduing platform and combined it with the thunder dragon saber. He exchanged more than 10 moves with Jiang Feng in an instant. Bang! Li Fan was actually at a disadvantage. Jiang Feng's palm landed on his chest, sending him flying like a cannonball and smashing into the ground, creating a crater. Ha! Jiang Feng actually opened his mouth and spat out a black-red shockwave that blasted onto Li Fan's body. Li Fan felt a tearing pain in his body. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Jiang Feng in his berserk state is a little abnormal. Am I going to lose? At this moment, Li Fan felt deeply unreconciled. In reality, it wasn't as if he wanted to explode the pocket universe. He was currently facing a huge crisis. If he didn't think of a way to deal with it, there would be endless troubles in the future. Use my power. Miss White Tiger's voice sounded in Li Fan's ears. Jiang Feng has submitted to the Azura's power. The Azura's weakness is its soul. Li Fan instantly understood. Fuck, it was fortunate that Miss White Tiger was here. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to settle this matter. Li Fan propped up his body and stood up from the pit. He consumed the last few spring-returning pills, then stretched out his hand, allowing the White Tiger's power to condense in his hand. A white divine bow appeared in Li Fan's hand. He completely concentrated his mental power, and his whole body was in a state of excitement. With a flick of his feet, he suddenly retreated and appeared on the 10-meter-high spectator stand at the side. Jiang Feng was standing at the spot where he had just stood, licking his claws. "You run very fast." He suddenly frowned and instantly moved more than 10 meters away. Li Fan's arrow actually missed. The white tiger's arrow directly hit the opponent's soul, but the prerequisite was to lock onto the opponent's aura. But in an instant, the aura of the berserk Jiang Feng actually disappeared. Ah, so dangerous. Jiang Feng stared at the white tiger divine bow in Li Fan's hand. "The thing in your hand seems to be quite dangerous. Can you put it down?" Li Fan continued to track Jiang Feng's aura and continuously pulled the bowstring. But Jiang Feng continued to hide the moment Li Fan shot the arrow. His aura disappeared along with him, causing Li Fan to lose his target again. The opponent was like a wild beast, possessing a high level of vigilance and concealment ability. "GGG, you can't catch me." Jiang Feng suddenly appeared behind Li Fan and clawed at his chest. But Li Fan allowed Jiang Feng to claw at his chest. Jiang Feng suddenly froze. A red tail extended out from behind Li Fan and wrapped around his body, binding him. "You can't escape, friend." As Li Fan spoke, he continuously pulled the white tiger divine bow and shot the arrows one by one into Jiang Feng's soul as if he was firing a gun. Jiang Feng retreated continuously and finally fell from the high platform. He fell to the ground and smashed into a cloud of dust. He lay there, his expression twitching for a long time, as if he was in extreme pain. After an unknown amount of time, he finally regained some consciousness. He looked at Li Fan, who was standing above him with cold sweat on his forehead. "I still lost in the end. Looks like I didn't use this berserk power well enough. My opponent's bow and arrows have a very strong restraining ability. I have to be careful next time. Li Fan. Next time. I will definitely win against you." As Jiang Feng spoke, he suddenly transformed into a black light and fled far away from the stage. And his subordinates had long fled when he went berserk. Jiang Feng still had to go back and reorganize his troops, so he could only leave in a hurry. "Ah. It's finally over." Li Fan also heaved a sigh of relief. This battle was really too hard. 2 days ago, there was a sea of people in the martial arts arena, but today, there was not a single person left. Li Fan looked at the martial arts arena that was almost in ruins and deeply felt the terror of power. Looks like, other than Beyond Avalon, Martial Emperor, Jiang Feng has also become a very big threat. Thinking of this, Li Fan raised his head and looked at number 9 who was above his head. "Why are you looking at me?" Number 9 snorted, "I will not join hands with you. You seem to know me very well." Li Fan laughed bitterly. "I don't know you." Number 9 coldly replied, "If you want to protect these people, then become stronger yourself. It won't be long before I go and challenge you again." With that, number 9 carried Windsor and left the martial arts arena once again. "This guy is too hard to get close to. Did he really extract the gene from my body?" Li Fan shook his head. Just as he was about to leave, Jade appeared out of nowhere and blocked his way.